Hey guys, welcome to episode 216 of 4PlayerAnimecast. We are just two episodes, I guess including this one, away from, I guess, the end of our winter roundup for the season. So we'll have this one and the next episode, and then we'll be pretty much done. We still have a couple more pretty big shots to handle, and you'll see them coming up pretty soon. So yeah, it is the 18th of February, 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time over at the eastern coast of the United States. I am your host, Spire. Here with me are my compatriots, Toast, Near,
What's up?
and Dark.
Hello.
All right, well, let's get right into it. 2 weeks. Here we go. Starting with Near. What do you have for us?
Not too much.
Okay.
14, no rating, all that. Bit of Shadowverse here and there. Gotcha game, the usual. Although recently, I think it was Viz, right? Viz Media. They put a bunch of stuff on YouTube that's just like free to watch.
I
Been
mean,
watching
I'm
a bunch
fine.
of
I'm
Like
I'm
what?
fine with Inuyasha, but Initial D.
yeah, I think they put all of Inuyasha, all of Sailor Moon, and some other series. So I've been watching a decent amount of Sailor Moon on there.
There's Death Note, Osamatsu-san,
Yeah.
Naruto, and Hunter x Hunter seasons 1 through 3.
Yeah,
So they essentially put like all the super, all the super big stuff on there. Which is
yeah,
good.
a lot of the older stuff.
Yeah.
It's just up there on YouTube now. So
I don't like the Viz dub of Sailor Moon. I prefer the Deke dub.
yeah, well, it's not really easy to license, but yeah. But yeah, I haven't been up
Also,
too
they're
much.
apparently all on Pluto TV, so
Oh,
I
really?
can see why. And I know Inuyasha's on oh, it's on Netflix still, is it?
I think.
So what's happening there?
But yeah, that's pretty much it for me.
Okay.
Just
Pretty good.
lounging about, really.
Do you like how they? Do you like
Honestly,
how
it was a pretty lazy week for me too.
they switched
Yeah.
out? What is it? The opening and endings for Initial D.
Oh, really?
They switched it to like hip hop and stuff. I don't know if they
What?
changed.
Weird.
I don't know if they changed it to in the actual anime because I'm not gonna watch that. But yeah, weird. Here, I'll link it. Here you go, Spire. Your favorite. I don't like it.
I'm not sure if what the fuck. Okay. What is this?
I don't like it.
This is pretty funny. Oh Jesus.
Oh yeah, oh god, this is the one where they localize the names too. This is the Tokyo pop one.
Oh, nice.
Where
This is exactly what I needed.
Takame is Tak and Itsuki is Iggy.
Damn.
And Koichiro is Cole.
All right.
So I mean,
so what about?
if you really want to watch Initial D dub, maybe watch the Funimation one, not the Viz one. The Viz one. Ugh.
I mean, at that point, it's just very kind of like you're just picking whichever is the lesser evil, honestly. But, anyways, thank you, Nier. What about you, Toast? 2 weeks, please.
I mean, I watched the Sony dub. Is the Sony dub of Kenshin? And they named him Kenji, and I'm like, I cannot accept
What?
I cannot
Wait, it wasn't even an English name. It was literally just like another Japanese name, but like one that was slightly easier to pronounce. Is that what they did?
Yes.
That's so...
I don't like that.
That's so stupid. Like it would be
So-
understandable if they were just like, okay, we need a English name for the English stuff. That'll be one thing. But they're just like, no, this is a little bit too hard for my taste.
The worst part is they use the same voice actors, but they told them like, hey, different name. And I'm like, it's the one on Hulu, by the way. Don't try to watch that version of Kenshin. Oh, I'm sorry, Kenji.
Kenji.
I can't handle it.
Oh my god. Anyways, what else? What else were you up to these past 2 weeks?
Well, I've been kidnapped because I would have rather preferred to watch This is a 3D reveal stream, which is happening right now as of this podcast. So, how dare you?
Unfortunate.
I'm watching it and like I'm watching it from like across the room on mute. So how dare you make me do that? And what else?
I agree for your loss.
Also, did you see what happened to Otto's channel?
Oh, what happened
He
actually?
got hacked.
Oh no, is it a Tesla? Is it a Tesla channel?
No, I mean, didn't you see what I posted earlier? Here, look what
No,
happened to
because
all
it
our
was
videos.
just because all it said on here was just the what's it called shit. It just had her like thing properly embedded.
No, I mean, if you look at all the videos, what's wrong with all those videos? You seeing it?
Wait, no, what?
What?
Look at her
so
video
she wasn't
thumbnails.
She wasn't hacked. It's just her thumbnails
Oh,
are
she's
all
not. Yeah,
changed
she's not
for her
hacked.
fucking
For her
her
new song, which is
220
going to
new
release on the
single.
20th. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, her
And it
like
says,
all
I'm
the
a
thumbnails are the same.
All
controversy,
the
bro.
thumbnails changed,
Yeah,
Uh-oh.
bro.
all the thumbnails are the same. Yeah. That's
Otto's dropping her
Well, was
cancel
it hacked
culture
to-
single.
Yeah. Was it was it turned into like some NFT shit or what's happening?
No,
I think it's just a fucking music, like just a promo. Like that's it.
it's literally a promo. Look at her. Look at her
Oh,
shorts.
okay.
Her shorts are. She's been talking about her new song, which is going to release on February 20th.
Nice.
I mean, I hope she doesn't get flagged by YouTube for similar thumbnails, because that's the thing.
Yep.
Yeah, it is.
What
Yeah.
else? I love watching that new funky game on Twitch.
Yeah.
Yes.
I don't like the controversy surrounding it though, but I like seeing the reactions about it. You know what game? I'm not gonna say it. Hell no.
Yeah,
I'm not that
Wild Hearts.
Oh ew!
I
What is
did.
that? But yeah, I know but yeah, Wild Hearts. I'm not feeling that game. Why play that when Monster Hunter Rise gives better verticality?
Anything else?
Was the Zion thing? Was that 2 weeks ago or was that 1 week ago? I don't remember.
I don't remember that shit,
It's
honestly.
It's funny though. But yeah. Other than that, pretty uneventful, I guess.
Yeah.
Sure.
Pretty good then. Yeah, it's been a quiet week for everybody for some reason. Not sure why. Dark.
Why is Ludwig in Japan though?
Oh, you know, I've been doing just a little bit of gaming.
How's I
Um,
keep trying to call it Rusty Hearts. How's Wild Hearts?
Wild Hearts.
So
Yeah.
Wild Hearts is awesome. Very good.
I'll never forgive
it's a
the
good
fall
twist on
damage thing
hunting.
though.
It's I don't know. It's weird because like cliche to say, but it's like, you know, it feels more like a Souls game than it does like a hunting game in some parts, just because of like some of the controls feeling, you know, very like Elden Ringy. With like
It's
the
the
jump
same,
attack and stuff. Maybe like Sekiro actually, but
Same
I've
producers
played
as
Sekiro.
Tokiden, right? And Tokiden was a Monster Hunter like game.
Yes, though Tokiden was way closer to Monster Hunter than this is, in my opinion. But so far this has been fun. Only one monster has made me mauled so far, which is like this weird, like water, like coral chicken thingy. But the weapons are really sick. There's only like 8 of them, but they're very, very cool. Except for the hand cannon so far. The cannon is kind of just there, you know? It shoots like a cannon, so
What's your favorite weapon?
that's about it.
The
So
umbrella
no, the umbrella sucks, in my opinion. It's a like bad version of an insect glaive from Monster Hunter. It's very like aerial oriented, but like none of the monsters yet seem to really support you doing that to them by yourself. So that kind of sucks. The two
How's
of the weapons I
the,
unlocked, there's like a staff that turns into tonfa and then into a giant shuriken and then into a halberd and then back into a bow staff. And like that is really, really good or really fun.
how's the katana compared to the Monster Hunter katana? Because
I mean, it's not as
one's
OP.
a big,
It
one's a
is
big
still
katana,
pretty
one's a normal
strong.
katana.
It's pretty strong. Like it's kind of similar in like some regards. But it's not like counter based or anything. Because as far as I can tell, this game really doesn't have counters, even for the umbrella, which it looked like it did.
It
But
has a
I don't
parry
think it
though.
is.
Like
Is that a
I know
parry? The umbrella?
it has a parry. I looked it up.
Because like it looks like it, but I couldn't do it. So that timing must be ridiculous. But dodging in the game is kind of huge. Like dodging is way better than a Monster Hunter dodge.
I don't know, man. The face plant dive, that's OP.
I
Like,
mean,
the
yeah, but
run-
you
the
have
running
a
dive
the
dodge.
Superman, but you have a shitload of iframes in this when you do the sprint slide is the thing. So it's interesting. Like there's like a claw weapon that's really cool too, where you can like tether yourself to a monster and then you can like stay airborne and like dive around them. So there's some really, really cool stuff. The building stuff is pretty fun.
How's
And yeah,
the
overall,
stamina
I
feel?
would.
Because we mentioned before that stamina's only tied to your dodge roll and not for attacking.
Well, it is tied to attack. It's tied to certain
It is?
attacks. Yes.
All right.
So like for the katana, it's tied to like the like blade flurry type attack thing that you do and stuff like that. For the parasol, it's tied to like the grounded, what would be like the insect glaive combo. So like you only really use those in like a pinch or when you have like big opportune moments. There's alternatives to like all of those that you can do in different scenarios. So overall, game's really good. The exploration's really fun. And I would recommend it once it gets patched to not run like shit and be CPU bottlenecked, which should be next week.
That's probably the
So,
important part, yeah.
That's why I'm not playing that right now, because that might just crash my fucking computer if I run that and I have to run like OBS. So, just a little bit of that. But other than that, been playing Apex Legends because the new season's pretty sick. Still playing Fortnite.
How's it feel knowing
Playing
that there's
Call of
building
Duty.
in Wild Hearts and not Fortnite?
I mean, building great in Wild Hearts, building in Fortnite, shit as usual. Always been shit. Never should have been in the game from the beginning. Only should have been in the survival mode, which should have gotten more support. That's just me. But yeah, I think overall cool stuff been going on in gaming. Been play. Oh yeah, that's true too. Also, went through the Dead Space remake and Hogwarts Legacy. Well, no, I haven't gotten through Hogwarts Legacy, but I played a lot of it, and it's fun. Way more fun than I thought it would be. Has a lot more like fantasy stuff in it that is actually like well done, more so than I thought, because I thought it was gonna be like a very like more so that like the fantasy being in a game is kind of like the selling point rather than it being like good, if that makes sense. Where I thought it would be more like like lower quality, but like it's got like the stuff there, but no, it's actually pretty high quality. So
Okay.
that game is just a well-made game. And then Hi-Fi
Alright.
Rush. So
That's
that's been like my 2 weeks, is just bouncing between a dozen different games, because I didn't even mention like I'm obviously keeping up with Genshin, keeping up with fucking what do you call it? Tower Fantasy.
You've been busy.
Oh,
That fucking Tower Fantasy.
yeah, it's been a pretty fucked up time. Then other than that, started the new Precure, and that's been cool. Waiting for the first boy
Yeah.
show up.
Yeah, and he said apparently it is going to be voiced by Murasa Ayumu, who is again known pretty much everywhere
my
by anybody who
boyfriend.
knows.
Yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely.
exactly. Excuse me, I think you mean my boyfriend. But yeah, so he's known in the industry as he's usually. I mean, he can do a bunch of like general like shonen or whatever male roles, but he's often known for being able to do a very like feminine kind of role or feminine voice. So
Yeah,
he's
well, I mean, what a lot of people might know him for now is honestly Venti in Genshin,
yeah.
at least for
I
Oh,
think
that
I
tone.
think I think the two main roles that people would know is probably Venti and then Haikyuu's Hinata Shoyo, right?
Yeah,
So the orange
is
haired
he
one with
doing
the
more like shonen in that, or is he doing the femboy like
he's like a regular kind of
higher
like, oh, I'm a
pitch?
young boy kind of doing blah 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 stuff. It's like
Okay, yeah,
he's like
because
yeah,
Venti is
Hinata Shoyo.
very feminine,
Yeah.
speaking
Yeah.
of
i.e.,
Genshin Dark,
perfect.
speaking of Genshin Dark, I heard I heard that the English version of Genshin Impact's doing well. What's up with that?
Oh yeah. Yeah, so Tignari's English voice actor is a pedophile.
Wait, what?
Yeah.
Who's voice actors?
Tignari. He's like the first dude that was added in Sumeru. He's got like fennec ears and like dual tone like green and black like color scheme. And yeah, his English VA is a pedophile, and I mean that in the literal
Well
sense.
then.
So
Well then. All
uh-oh.
right. Yeah, that's not a thing. That
What's his
should
name?
that should
Apparently,
be
I don't remember his name. You could probably just like Google like Tignari En, and it would immediately pop up because like
yeah,
what is it? You know, it's
Elliot
the
Gindi,
typical
the
yeah.
English voice actor for
So
Tignari. Yes. Has
yeah,
been
it's the typical case of
Oh,
like grooming
boy.
fans and shit, but then also like a sprinkle of like full blown pedophilia in there, as far as I
Yeah, that's
understand. So,
no bueno. That is not good. Yeah, at least
so
that
yeah,
was rooted out quickly when he was called out, which is good. And it wasn't like
yeah,
dragged on by
they
Hoodverse.
clapped Hoyoverse clapped him instantly. They were like, okay,
Yeah.
well, never mind, and then they're like, well, we're gonna have to work to
Eject
replace
button.
him.
Yeah, eject button right there. But yeah, at least that's good.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, the Kaino Ai situation, this is not. A little
yeah,
bit.
Kaino is way different.
Kaino Ai was fucking
Yeah.
stupid, but goddamn,
it's
is this
stupid slash disrespectful. This is an actual crime. Like that is
yeah,
worlds
this is,
different. Yeah.
And so their response to it was very swift and very good. Though your response should typically be not playing Genshin Impact in fucking English to begin with. So
that's also a thing, yeah.
you realistically should have never heard his voice. And if you had heard his voice, you have no excuse and you support pedophilia. I'm just saying. So if you don't want to, you should probably play the game in Japanese.
Yeah.
or don't you mean Chinese? That's Chinese
I
voice
kind
actor,
of
right?
they don't have the Chinese dub in the West,
Oh, all right.
I like the
which is
Korean dub as well,
unfortunate.
but that's just my bias.
Wow.
But yeah, anyways, anything else?
No, I think other than that, that's pretty much it. It's been a lot. I've just been keeping up
Yeah.
with everything other than all that.
Hold on,
Okay.
Dark. Have you read the new
Good ass
JoJo?
time for games. Dude, first of all, you could have stopped at have you read, and the answer would have been not in like the last 10 years. But no. I
JoJo
don't
like
think
just came out.
I have not read for entertainment in almost a decade.
Reading for like things, text on the screen.
Reading?
What the fuck is this?
Disgusting.
be-
I
to
only
be
read
honest-
I read news articles and like scholarly shit and like fucking medical journal stuff. That's the
honest,
bulk of my reading.
When did JoJo Part 8 come out? Because I didn't. I skipped through all of that because it was way too long.
A long time ago.
Was that over 10 years ago? I feel like it has been.
I feel like it, yeah.
Yeah, is that the longest part?
I have no idea. I
'Cause
feel like part 7 was pretty long, but
it didn't feel that long. Maybe it's because I was more invested in it than
I mean, probably part 8 kind of sucked. I'm gonna be
Part 8
honest.
might be part
8 was bad. Like
Part 8 I
Right.
think might just be the longest in the sense of like how long it ran for.
May 19th, 2011 to August 19th, 2021. Yeah,
Yeah.
I
It's
don't
been
feel
a
like
long
reading
time.
part 8. Part 9's looking pretty cool though.
Anyways, if that's it then, Dark, thank you for your 2 weeks. For me, it's been pretty quiet. I didn't even really get to play games. I was kind of running around doing some real life stuff. I kind of really wish I could play some games, but I did actually find some coworkers who I was actually talking with before, during, and after I guess company meetings. And I was like, oh, you play these games. So that was about the closest I
What
got to
games?
actually playing a game. What?
What games?
He was actually he says he kind of like plays around a lot, but the most recent thing he was playing was actually Master Duel, which is pretty funny.
Yeah,
He
the most
actually
recent
had
thing he
been
was
What
playing
tech
was
does he play?
War Thunder and leaking government secrets.
yeah, exactly.
What tech does he play?
He didn't tell me actually. I actually want to ask him, but
I bet he plays Labyrinth.
but yeah, he played Duel Links, and like he played like Magic the Gathering Arena and stuff like that too. So we had a little bit of talk, but that
Why
was
don't
again
you
about
play
the close.
Master Duel Spire?
I The only deck I made before I like stopped playing, not because I was like, oh, this game is bad, but because I was just small brain. I'm not good at reading text. Um, but it was Eldritch, right? The Eldritch deck was
Yeah,
like,
you're an Eldritch
I
player.
told you about this,
You
right? Yeah,
you
I think I told
you definitely also play Labyrinth.
you. But yeah, other than that, I've been getting
Labyrinth is
too much.
also a freaking trap deck.
Yeah,
You remember that
it's
one game on that one game on PS2, Trapped? Is that what it's called?
feel like I know what you're talking about, but not
It's
sure.
yeah, it's Trapped or Kagero 2, Dark Illusion. The
Oh,
one where you
Kagero, yeah.
one where you put traps. That's exactly what that
Mm.
deck is.
But yeah, I haven't been up too much. I was, unlike Dark, I have been actually going through and reading a lot of random books, like PDFs and stuff on the side, although they are still mostly technical stuff, but there have been some other, like, I've been reading some stuff that's more related to like translation and culture and like literature stuff like that, because I do want to, like, what I kind of want to do is I want to read more of these sorts of like literary criticism and kind of development kind of books. So I want to be able to give a more full colored or full and colored opinion on the stuff that I read, instead of just, kind of approaching it from much more of a um how do I say this? Much more of a dilettante kind of perspective. I do want to be a little bit more broad and thorough in how I approach it. So I've been reading a couple of that.
Any
I
new
I s-
VNs?
what?
Any new VNs?
I have not gone through any new VNs,
Why not?
unfortunately. Although I've heard that the very old translation that started like way back in the like Facebook years, like I think even before 2016 or so, the Shin Kohime Muso, not the new one, not the new like remaster version, but like the old Shin Kohime Muso. I believe that finished translation. Although I keep saying this, but Shinko Hime Muso, I mean, it has a lot more stuff and it has a lot more characters, so it has like some value, but it's really like, I've always said that, in my opinion, Moe Shoden, which is Shinko Hime Muso Moe Shoden, is the fan disc of Kohime Muso, which is um it kind of is just the after story, right? Like there's peace in the entire Three Kingdoms. He's, Kazuto Hongo, the main character, has conquered everybody, and just after, right? It's just all the characters just having fun together. And I've always said that like the entire sort of point, the value of playing Kohime Muso is not really going through like the whole like, oh, these girls are Three Kingdoms, characters now. Now what do they do? And seeing their, it's not really about this. More just like having everybody together and having the whole like, what would happen if, Soso got like his ass ran by whoever, right? It's like whoever from the awakening, or excuse me, for the Shoe Kingdom, right? It's kind of like that. It's not really about reenacting the Three Kingdoms stuff. So, it's good that it's gotten translated, but I feel like their time would have been better served if they had just done Moe Shoden instead. And my hope is that that'll be translated and everybody will have fun with it. Um, I had read through a little bit of that, but I never got through all of it. But it was pretty fun. But
I've never
anyway,
heard of that in my entire life. But
the fan disc?
have you heard
Or
of the feature radio and the artificial pigeons?
oh yeah, that was the most recent Laplacian visual novel, right? Laplacian is, if you guys don't know, is the one who did Isaac Newton and like the Apple or whatever, that visual novel, and then one other one. They do a lot of
World's
these types of.
horniest housewife, Ricky Horn.
That is not a series that Laplacian did. I think.
Yes,
I'm pretty
it
sure
is.
that is. Wait, really?
Yes, it is.
Holy shit!
Host has a fucking eye for these things, okay?
Isaac Newton and the Apple Tree. Yes, that's also there.
Yeah,
Feature
okay. They
radio
did.
and the artificial pigeons, and world's horniest housewife, Ricky Horn. You go, Spire.
What?
You don't believe me? Here's a picture.
No. I'm looking through it.人類最強性欲の嫁 yes. 人類最強性
I
欲
got
の
you,
嫁
Spire.
好奇主
Hold
人
on.
公 This is like a really short one that they did.
There you go, Spire.
Yeah.
I got
I
got
yeah,
you,
this
fam.
this
Oh.
looks like a Nuki. Yeah, no. I'm looking at the VNDB page. Don't worry. I'm not. Yeah. Yeah, this looks like a short. This looks like a short series that not a series. What the hell am I saying? A short visual novel that Lapashian probably did to like, because it's like one between their Mirai Radio to Jinkobato and the other one Hakuchumu no Aojashin, right? So between their two big series or bigger series, they put in this small one to get some money because again, I think we discussed this before in a sidecast or whenever I forget near. We had a sidecast about this, right? I think, or did we? Yeah,
So
where
I
it's
mean,
like
we've talked about it a few
just
times, but
yeah, where like visual novel studios don't get money. They are constantly like barfing out money, so they've had to have a lot of coping mechanisms in a sense. So
In a world
yeah,
of
this
prudes, a single woman makes her husband stand erect against the status quo and face the world with balls of steel. Horn Doug is a normal limp everyday man with an unfortunate name, but his life is turned upside down when he meets his wife, Horn Ricky. I don't get that second one. You have to explain it to me. I get Horn Doug, but not Horn Ricky.
it's
I don't get
just not. They just tried to localize it to an English name, like with the jokes, because the Japanese names are jokes, but it's like. But it doesn't translate well into English. That's about how I can say. So essentially, they did. They used the kanji for. So the last name is Koguchi, which is it was composed of the kanji for factory and the kanji for mouth, right, or like
What?
entry, whatever. But the kanji for factory looks like e in kata, and the guchi, the mouth kanji, looks like the ro in katakana. So if you look at their names and it forms the shape ero, yeah, but you read it as koguchi. But anyways, that's a little bit of a flash.
Japanese humor is truly far too
Yeah.
advanced for the Western mind.
Truly complex. Yeah. So they tried to localize it to that. It's a very, very layered joke.
Yeah.
But yeah, they probably did this as a small project just to make ends meet while they moved on. It's almost like how I heard there was this video I was listening to of this like Michelin, or not Michelin, but like this fine dining restaurant owner, right? Where it's like he would literally have to like open a restaurant, but then the fine dining restaurants often don't go into the red just because of all like the costs and stuff like that, the high costs of everything. So he would have to like create another restaurant or like do other like random home shopping advertisements or whatever stuff like that to make ends meet. And then that will like put him into more and more debt because like he would have to take on other projects to pay off the previous project, and then that project would build off debt, and then blah blah blah. So it's kind of like similar in this with Laplacian, I think. But yeah, I unfortunately have not really watched any, or sorry, read any of their
What
visual novels,
What about
but
Norn, Spire? Norn also came out with something fun.
Norn, what visual novel?
Manga Makers Mega Milkers.
That sounds good.
Alrighty then.
Online, you
I
are
have
Ore,
probably
a
not.
veteran pursuer of the arts, known among your peers as the Breast Hunter.
What has Norn done? Oh, Norn is literally just all like the
Yeah.
Nuki stuff. Oh yeah,
Yep.
okay.
They did Lewd Wife with My Doggy
Uh.
Wife and Tails and Titties Hot Spring.
Yeah,
Oh,
they have so many long they're actually quite prolific because they've started from 2007 and they've kept making these like shorter Nuki games.
Yep.
But it's just like
This name is
that
great.
really seems to be like the
This
only
name is
profitable
great.
fucking.
yeah, isn't it? I mean, manga gamers kind of hinted to a similar thing as well when they were talking about
Yeah.
localizations a long time ago. Because after they translated Kohime Muso, they
shit.
kept bitching about like how they didn't want to translate any more longer visual novels. They would only translate shorter visual novels just because the profit margins didn't work out for them. So, and you can also see this in Front Wing as well, right? Why
Yeah.
did they go from making bigger series like the Chris Kasaya trilogy to making these shorter side not even side, but like shorter volume stuff, right? That they did for Grisaya Phantom Trigger, whatever the fuck it was,
Yeah.
right? And Minato Soft did the same thing. They went from making what is it? Himegimi. They did Wagahai Majikoi. Why the fuck did I almost forget the name? Majikoi.
Yeah.
Majikoi. They made these huge long series that took 50 plus hours of playtime. And then now they're doing is essentially selling fan discs. They're selling
Yeah.
fan discs. So that's all it is. So it's coping mechanisms. I perfectly understand why they have to do what they have to do right now, but it is a pity. So
Do you
but
think
yeah.
any of those will beat Nope Nope Nurses this year?
No, probably not. No
Yeah.
nurses. Just masterpiece. Sorry.
Yeah. I mean, it's a master class in the medium, really.
Yeah, a lot of other master some things as well.
Yeah.
But anyways, that was all I had. I also created like I got a lot of like at home gym equipment and stuff like that. So I spent some time building
How
that.
much you
But
lift, bro?
I don't lift too much these days because I've gotten lazier. But
How much you bench,
um,
bro? What's your
my
lats?
my lats. I'm actually really bad. The thing is, it's like my shoulders are okay, but like my lats are surprisingly not very good, which kind of sucks. But anyways, uh, that was all I had, and I guess with that, we should just get right into it then, and we'll start off with toast.
Stop.
What do you have for us?
I watched Tenshi no Sanpi.
Pay attention to stuff.
It's
Good stuff.
it's made by Project Number 9. I don't know what the name. The Angel Next Door Spoils Me Rotten. That's the name.
Yes, Angel Next Door spoils me not rotten. Otonari no Tenshi-sama ni Itsunomanika dame ningen ni Sareteita ken. Is there a freaking? So I was actually talking with somebody in the Discord about this, and I just really fucking you know how so many of these like light novel and like random series have like huge long names. And I think part of this was, I mean, not part of this, but it was obviously driven by the light novel and the web novel craze because there were so many like different light novels and web novels. The author started to write really long titles in order to kind of stand out, along with trying to hire the best artists so they will get the best like looking covers, right? And it's just like Japanese people also shorten these longer names so that they can memorize it or they can kind of use it quickly, right? And now, not only for us as reviewers and podcast people, not only do we have to remember the names, we also have to fucking remember these abbreviations, which is really stupid. I freaking hate this timeline because I have to memorize all these stupid abbreviations. I
What's
don't
the
even know what
abbreviation of this one? I just call it Otonari no Tenshi.
it has. Like, I don't even. I think it's like.
Ototen? Is that what they're gonna call it? I don't know.
No, I think it's like Otonari no I think it's Otonari no Tenshi-sama or it's like Otonari. I haven't Yakusho.
Don't know.
What is it? Yeah, Otonari no Tenshi-sama. Otonari no Tenshi-sama.
That's
It's just the
what I, yeah, I
first
mean, that's what
bit.
I call it. All
Yeah.
right.
But sometimes it's not like that, which is really frustrating. But
But
anyways.
yeah, made by Studio number Project number 9,
Yes.
who also did guess what, Tenshi no Sanpi.
Yes, and Rokubyu, which is like kind
Fire
of along the
Loves,
same thing.
Roku. Weren't they in a Dengetsu?
That's a very dangerous statement. I don't love Rokubyu, okay?
I don't know, man.
watched it.
Didn't you also like that what is it? That dragon mahjong thing that was also similar, but it was mahjong.
Ryu no Oshigoto, right? I believe
That's
Ryu no
Yeah.
basically Roku, but with mahjong. Also, they also did
Tenshi no Sanpi.
And you thought there was never a girl online. That was a fun one.
Yes, they also did that one. Yeah, they've done a lot of
Oh
series
yeah.
like that.
Speaking of the Ryuo thing, they also did that. So, guess
Oh
what?
wow.
Guess what,
So
Spire?
Project number 9 is just like the lolly like studio. Is that what we're
I mean, they also did Make My Abilities Average.
Mhm.
Hige Hero, which is the shaving dude. That was a pretty good one. Love After World Domination. That's also a banger.
Mhm.
And damn, they had that. And My Stepmom's Daughter Is My Ex. That was also pretty decent. So they got a good track record for some people.
For some people. Okay.
Yeah. What about this series? It's it's pretty average as well. The premise is pretty generic, as one would say. It's
Okay.
about there's a dude, there's a loner dude who wears a scarf, and he's like, you know, he lives by himself, goes to high school by himself. You know, he's the loner of the classroom. And then there's on the opposite end, I think in a different classroom, there's the school idol, but they call her the
Oh
angel,
baby.
Mahiro Shina, which I thought it was Mashiro Shina,
Oh,
and
like
like
the
Sakura
yes,
So, and I was like,
yes
damn,
sir.
how dare you? But no, it's Mahiru So. So they get a pass from there. But yeah, the dude's name is Amene Fujimiya. So he lives by himself in an apartment. Then one day, he's being his loner self. And one day he sees a girl sitting on a park bench in the rain without an umbrella. He's all like, "Oh boy, here we go." Because the
Here we
premise,
go again.
the premise itself is pretty standard. It's like,
Yeah.
you see the loner dude meets the school idol in the rain, and he's like, "Here, why aren't you like? Shouldn't you go home?" And she's like, "I don't have any place to go home to," or no, she didn't say something like that. It was like "I like thinking in the rain." Well, I don't remember what she said, but at
Yeah,
the
she
end
says some
result,
depressing shit. It's yeah.
I guess. And the end result is here. I'll give you my umbrella. So he gives her her umbrella, and he runs back home. But then, as is in typical Japanese media, for some reason, he gets a cold because he gave her his umbrella. So he shows up to school next day. And he's like, "Oh, I got sick," and his friend's like, "Why'd you get sick?" And he's like, "Because I gave my umbrella away." He's like, "You idiot." But yeah, so and then he tries to go home, but it's like, "Oh no, this cold is so savage. I'm going to faint in front of my door." Because apparently Japanese colds and flus are that serious. I wouldn't know.
That's why they've been screwing up the COVID emergency so badly. Is because they just like it's such a bad thing. They don't know what to do about it. They're just
I don't know,
all the
man.
Japanese people are just like immediately just keel
When
over.
I had a cold, I never fainted. Like, I never fainted in front of my doorstep. I had to power through freaking gym in the morning. I was like, "Oh, I hate this." But yeah, so he stumbles his way back home, and then lo and behold, Mahiru comes to return his umbrella because apparently they're next door neighbors. Oh, get it? That's why it's called the
Okay.
angel next door. So, she gives his umbrella back, and she's like, "Oh, why are you all shaky? Is it because you gave my umbrella?" He's like, "Yeah, I guess so." It's like, whatever. Then she intrudes in because she feels bad, and she takes care of him, whatever. When he
Mhm.
wakes up, and that's how the story begins. The cliche
Okay.
umbrella in the rain. Instead of instead of finding a high school girl sitting in the sitting on a corner in the middle of the night because she was banished from her childhood. Banished from her home because she ran away. Then you shave and bring her home. It's that. That's the premise. Well, that's the beginning premise of how they meet. Then after that, it's pretty. It's pretty much a slow burn of their relationship, how it progresses after that. And I gotta say, this is probably one of the better slow burns to how a relationship progresses the anime in a very long time.
Well, can you
Because
specify? Yeah.
you know how, let's say, I'm gonna throw out Toradora, right? You know, opposites attract. Like, oh, here's or a Sakura, so, or I don't know. What else? What else is there? How basically a series where a boy and a girl with completely opposite personalities somehow cohabituate together, and that's how the relationship progresses. You know, like, I mean, it's pretty standard rom-com stuff, right?
Hmm.
How you got two people with two different personalities. In this one, they both have very similar personalities, so in a weird way, they kind of mesh together.
They act reasonably around each other.
Yeah, they act.
And it's
That's a good way to put it. It's like
not just
he's
like, oh, I don't like you either, or like that kind of stuff all the time. Yeah.
they're both the Tsukomi toward each other. If this was a manzai, so
Oh, okay.
I don't know. It's pretty hard to explain, but if you get it, you get it. They're both witty and they crack jokes at each other, and it definitely seems more natural because they both have similar personalities rather than like thrusting two opposites toward each other and expecting
And
them
from what
to
I've seen,
match.
it kind of seems like a little bit more relaxed, right? It's not like
Yeah,
one of
this
it's
is
okay. Yeah, it's also not like Toradora where it's like it feels like it has to do the comedy every once in a while, so it has a little bit more of the extreme personalities and like Skomi and stuff like that, right?
they're both like low energy. They're pretty chill toward each other.
Mm-hmm.
So it's pretty relaxing to see two people with the same personality interact with each other.
Mm-hmm.
Like I'm trying not to give too many details because I like well I kind of like this series. I like the way they interact. So their
Mm-hmm.
daily interactions are pretty fun to watch. Like after he gets better, he sees something. It was something like he sees her cooking or whatever.
Okay.
No. It was because when she helped him, get better after his cold, she saw the state of his room and it was like a complete mess because he lives alone. He's the type of guy who's like, oh, I don't know how to cook. I'll just drink these energy drinks and live off of, meal replacement stuff.
Right,
And
right,
then
right.
she saw that
Calorie
she like,
mates or whatever. Yeah.
yeah, energy drinks, and she's like, ugh. So she gives him her leftover food because because of course you gotta make her that she's really good at cooking and whatever. She's like, and he's like, wow, this is pretty good. And then she's like, ugh, I see that you like my food. Here, I'll keep giving it to you. I was like, that's a fun interaction. So she's giving him food, and then he thinks she likes the way that she reacts toward his food, so
Yeah.
she keeps giving it
That's
to
a
her.
pretty classic interaction, I think.
And
Yeah.
then he's like, well, I gotta repay you, so they do some stuff together and whatnot. So it's a pretty natural interaction, I would say. It's not really forced, but I mean,
So my question is, yeah, like I understand the pace, but what about the structure? Is the structure how episodic is it? Do you have like the arcs kind of episodes like or the concepts, right? Of like maybe bath time or like meal or whatever. Do you have them spilling out over like different episodes? Are there mini arcs? What's happening?
so far in the story, it's like the first major event I can talk about is
Yeah.
the Christmas arc, where they gradually get closer and whatnot. They're comfortable with
Hmm.
each other to hang out. Then there's a Christmas arc where he hangs out where what's his name? Amane hangs out with his friends, and they're like, "Hey, can we come over on Christmas Eve?" And he's like, "Okay." And then he tells my hero that "Hey, my friends are coming over, so just we can't hang out that day." And she's like, "Okay." And then when the friends come over and they see it snowing, it's like, "Oh wow, snow!" They go onto the balcony, and then lo and behold, my hero's there, also on the balcony. And it's like, that's the school angel. How do you live near her? Whatnot. Oh yeah, and before that there was the birthday arc where I gotta repay my hero somehow for hanging out with me and taking care of me and giving me all that food. So I'll give you this birthday present. So that's how they gradually
how
get
long are
closer.
these arcs? On
This is
average,
like
are they?
episode per episode. So
Oh, okay.
so between like 1 and episode 4, which is that's the Christmas episode, I believe. That was 2 months. So this is pretty slow so far.
Okay.
Yeah. Character wise, I mean, I really like the main characters, how they interact. They're similar yet different. Like even though she's a school idol and she's perfect in class, but when she's all by herself in her house, she's pretty relaxed, and she's similar to the main character. Not really like
Mm-hmm.
a slob, but she likes to be alone and do whatever she wants. So she doesn't have to put up the front of being the school angel anymore. And then there's the main character who's you know, you're
Wait,
kind of
what's her contrast again? Between like she's like at school, she's just like she has to be like the perfect girl.
she's sociable, all that. That's pretty standard stuff. But
But at home, what is she like?
she's like I said, she's similar to the MC. She's frank and whatnot. She's
Oh,
not
so she
afraid to
becomes
speak
more
her
curt.
mind.
That's her
Yeah,
contrast. Okay.
but yeah, and then yeah,
Yeah.
like what else?
Anything on audio visuals?
Other than like the two main characters, how they interact, I gotta say the weaker points, like the characters I don't like, is kind of the mom, but I get why she has to be this way. Like, was it after the birthday arc? Her mom suddenly his mom suddenly comes in to check on Amane because he lives alone, and you gotta have the mom and dad pop up show up sometime. But yeah, the mom, whatever, she's the complete opposite of Amane. She's super bubbly. Like, oh,
Mhm.
this is. She accidentally meets my hero, and she's like, oh, is this your girlfriend? Blah blah blah. Don't worry, you can call me mom and whatnot. And I'm like, ugh. She's that type of character, huh? The super doting, bubbly mom. But I mean, I
Well,
get
again,
it.
that's also pretty classic
I
type
get
stuff.
it. So it's they can move the plot along and have the contrast.
Mm-hmm.
Super typical mom type, but I kind of didn't like it because it broke up the flow of the show. Right? I like seeing
Oh,
these
you
two
kind of
super.
want to kind of see it just within their own world and just kind of properly resolve it out,
Yeah, I
right?
like seeing these super
Yeah.
chill
I
characters like chill and like progress naturally, but I guess you have to do it. And then
yeah.
there's the main character's friend. I don't know what's his name. Itsuki.
Mhm.
He's kind of a the outgoing popular dude. Then his girlfriend Chitose is also like that. She's super genki and tries to be friends with everyone. And those two are like lovey dovey and stuff. So get why I get why those like everyone else in this show is super outgoing and whatnot.
Mhm.
But it kind of ruined the flow for me. But I get why because they have to somehow slowly progress the plot a little more,
Mhm.
even though the main character and the main characters themselves are moving the plot like super gradually. They're edging along just a little bit more to have the contrast.
Right.
So I mean, while I get it, I don't I don't honestly like it that much because I really like just seeing the two main characters do their own thing, and but I get it. So I'm not
Yeah.
gonna dock too many points off of it. Audio-visual wise, don't really have any complaints. The
Yeah,
anime,
it was actually pretty decent. I was actually pretty impressed at the overall, not like frames or whatever, but necessarily, but it's just like I thought it was a little bit the overall quality, like and at least in the static frames, was a little bit better than like what you kind of see sometimes with like diluted diluted kind of artwork, just because what I call diluted artwork or like simplified artwork for anime, right? Because they need to draw a lot of the in between frames, and they need to draw a lot more of the same stuff in general. But this one was actually I kind of looked into it, and the art director was actually Masakazu, who did stuff, who did what is it, Netuge for, I believe, Project Number 9, right? As we stated, he did actually Konosuba, and he did like a couple of other stuff, but he's a pretty big veteran. Oh yeah, he did Prima Doll too. Yeah. So I thought it was kind of interesting that um obviously Project Number 9 does do pretty well overall on these, but it was like still slightly above average, so I thought I kind of look into it. And yeah, the guy running the art direction behind it is pretty big veteran. So
yeah, no real complaints. Looks good all around. No
mhm.
quality drops or whatever. Characters look great. Lighting's good, and the opening though is pretty fire.
Pretty good.
If it wasn't for Eimer having a opening in this season, they should. I would put this. I would honestly put this as like my top favorite opening of this season. It's
You're not putting the oh, wait, no, that was last season. Fuck. Okay. But
what deep down? What was it?
no, 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 no.
But yeah, what is it? What is the opening? It's Gift by some guy. I don't know. By what's the name of that guy again? I forgot.
Oishi Masayoshi. He
Yeah, that
also
guy.
did stuff like Imperfect for Gridman. He did, or he, I think he did both of the Gridman like themes, like related themes, and then he did Hollow Hunger for Overlord season 4, or he did a couple of ones for, yeah, I think he did 1, 3, and 4, or 1, 2, and 4 for Overlord seasons, the openings for them. But yeah, he's a pretty prolific
This
anime
dude's got
songwriter.
chops. This dude's
Yeah.
got right in chops. So yeah, listen to it. It's pretty
I
fun.
ain't gonna lie. I'm surprised you didn't pick the Onimai opening, because the Onimai opening is the one that has like the full like internet content creator meme, right? It's like, what is it? It's sung by Pimaru-sama, right? And the MV, the music video, like the is performed by like Enaka or whatever, right? I thought you were gonna pick that one, to be
Sorry,
honest.
I've never heard of this P Maru.
Sorry, she lives a secret life, yes. But
But
yeah,
I mean,
any yeah.
I mean, it's good, but
Yeah.
I'm more attached to this funky series.
Yeah.
But yeah, what am I gonna rate? I didn't really want to spoil too much of the interactions because they're pretty good.
That's
Like,
fine.
what is it? There was that one instance where the dude is like, where was it? The main character said something, or no, the main character's friend said something like, "You're a calm and honest dude, and you're the type to spoil your girlfriend if you ever have one." And then the main character's like, "No, I'm not." Then like the next scene is like, "Hey, you did well on this. Like it was, you did well on something, so I'm gonna give you a present." I was like, "Damn, got you right there." So yeah, I didn't want to spoil too much because I like the interaction. So definitely check this out.
All right. What would
Uh,
you rate it?
I'll rate it a 9 out of 10. It's in the same vein as like Fufu Ijo. What did
Hmm.
I rate that? Did I rate that an
Didn't you
8?
rate it like a 7 or an 8? Yeah.
I believe I rated an 8. So it's on the same vein, but the character and interactions are way better,
Okay.
and it's a more natural progression of their relationship, even though they're very
Coming
similar.
10.
So I mean, I'd give it a 10, but I don't like the main character's mom. It's like, get out of here, mom. Get out of here. Don't ruin this. Because the mom was super pushing. It's like, oh, my hero, you can call me mom. And is that your girlfriend? And the dude's like, no, she's not. She's a friend. He's like, oh, don't be shy. And I'm like, ugh, hate this. Too real, man. Too real.
All right. Well, okay. Thank
But
you
yeah,
very much. Yeah.
So definitely check it out. I want to say it's the best romance anime this season.
Wow. Okay.
But I mean, I've also heard the good things about what is it? The Yuki Ono one, but apparently Spire hated that, right?
I didn't hate it. I just said it was pretty straightforward. It's like it's neither it's not that good, but it's not bad by any means. It's like okay. It's
not
very
like it's
vanilla.
not
It's
like
straight what you get.
yeah, it's not
Yeah.
like a
Like you you
'cause
order a
it's
burger
hard,
from
it's hard to
McDonald's.
say,
You
right?
knew
Like
what
I
you're
would
gonna
say
get.
it's a
Yeah.
it is a good romance like slice of life series, but the problem is that it or like episodic like romance series thing.
Is it
But,
because
It
like-
the character?
also
But
We
like the
also
problem
too
is
corny.
it depends on what your bar for calling like a romance series good is, right?
yeah.
Because
This
it's, like,
this also gets straight into
it's
the
not doing
whole-
anything special. Like it's not
Yeah.
you know, it's not like introducing like a new or like any sort of like interesting relationship dynamic. It's kind of just like trivia and like slice of life and just more of a guilty pleasure type thing than like something that's like really advancing, you know, like a romance genre.
Trying something new, maybe trying a unique combination of character interactions, whatever. But I think I do want to. I don't mention this too often, although I do mention it on occasion. I don't, but what I would like to emphasize to the viewers out there is, and I try to tamper this down, or I've tried to tamper it down recently. I was definitely much harsher in previous years, but when I'm oftentimes rating something and I see that it's not really going out of its way to try something new, or like it's kind of pushing the same like vanilla character developments, but it's not trying to emphasize anything, or it's not really s- giving me a reason to watch this series over other, any other previous series, other than the fact that it's new, or it's like a series that came out this month instead of 2 years before. If it's not giving me any proper literary reason to read this specific series, um oftentimes I have a little bit more of a bias to mark it down, or not mark it as well as I would, a series that would kind of try to go out of its way. Obviously, doing something new carries its own risk, right? You can kind of fumble the ball. You can just not properly, land the ending or whatever it is, whatever phrase, idiom that you want to saying that you want to use. But I would I pretty much as a minimum usually try to look for that something new, because again, otherwise there's really not too much reason to watch this series or as opposed to another, previous series. So it is a bias that I have. Recently I've rated a lot of series that are kind of straight vanilla like okay, but previously I would have probably rated them like as like I would probably put them more on like the 4 or 3 out of 10 kind of placings. But yeah, again, it's you guys have to understand, you guys have to form, you guys as the viewers have to form your own opinions and understand that we each as reviewers also have each of our different biases as well. And I just want to be honest about that. So yeah.
Yeah,
um
I'll rate it definitely better than that one, and then also Yamada-kun level 999. It's also kind of quirky
okay.
characters, but yeah, I'll rate it higher than this because I like the main characters are the most realistic this season. I guess they they're curt towards each other, but they don't say dumb things. It's like, oh, I hate when you do this or whatever, like you see in usual rom coms. So they're pretty.
Yeah,
It's a pretty natural
like
friendship, I should say.
I'd never go out with you or whatever, like that sort of stuff.
Yeah, they're like, "Oh, you're not my type." And he's like, "Well, well." The dude was like, or the chick was like the dude said something like, "Oh, well, why is it that you're so natural around me?" And then the chick was like, "Well, that's because I know I'm not your type." And he's like, "Damn, I guess that's true. I just do stuff." Yeah, so
Nice.
that kind of interaction is pretty cool. But yeah, definitely
Alright.
check this out. Highly recommend it. 9 out of 10.
All right, pretty good. Thank you very much, Toast. And again, this was Angel Next Door. The Angel Next Door spoils me rotten. Done by Project Number 9. I believe it is a manga original.
No,
Um,
it's a
it-
light novel. A very
it's a light
popular
novel
light
original.
novel.
I
Yeah.
apologize. Yes, yes, yes. Pretty popular light novel original. Japanese name. Otonari no Tenshi-sama ni Itsunomanika Manika Dame Ningen ni Sareteita. Also known as Otonari no Tenshi-sama for short. And please do check it out.
I am
Next,
I gotta say, I'm so good at pointing out if a series is good or not to me. Because I saw this series, like, wait a minute, this doesn't look half bad, and guess what? I was right.
yeah, my nose for that has become much worse recently. Although obviously it wasn't. It was not exactly cracking. 800 or 750 or anything batting average to begin with. But
Spire, you just gotta watch enough isekai to know when something is bad. Then you'll be like,
I
hey,
think
wait,
I've
this
watched
is kinda
more
good.
than more isekai than I would ever want to in a lifetime. But anyways, next on the list here, Dark. What do you have for us?
I have a manga original called Mo Ippon, or Ippon Again. And this is a series about I'm not even gonna read the synopsis yet. It's just about it's judo. It's high school
Yeah.
judo.
Yeah, it's just
Um,
school judo. What's also I just want to point something out. The audio, the visuals in this series, it's like they have a lot more of like the roundish faces, right? Which kind of give it like a different feel in a sense.
yeah, it's
You know what I
very
Wow,
mean?
strange.
Spire, are you
Yeah,
saying they're
it's like a
fat?
childish. Yeah, it's like the child. It's like the child. It's like the baby fat. They have a lot of like the baby fat face, which gives it definitely a different feeling. In my
How
opinion.
old are they? Is this like middle school or high school?
It's high
High
school
school,
or
first
no?
year.
Yeah, okay, yeah. But
That's
anyway,
Well,
fair.
sorry.
actually, I think it's spread. Most of the cast is first year
Yeah,
because it's like the series like kind of starts out with one of them being like, oh, it's our last judo tournament forever because I'm quitting in
classic.
high school.
Yeah.
And then that doesn't happen. Spoiler alert. But
Classic.
yeah, so to get to I guess the synopsis is the happy-go-lucky Michi Sonata announces to her teammate, Sanae Takigawa, that she will quit judo for good after the final middle school tournament. Sanae is in disbelief, considering that she's the one who like roped her into doing judo in the first place. And they wind up doing a what's it called? Sanae during the tournament wins her first match, and then Sonata is like about to win. And then when Sanae like makes the like a wrong call that she got an Ippon finally, she sort of like falters and then gets chokehold held by another girl, loses, and there's like a video going around of her making a very stupid face because she gets knocked unconscious.
Nice. Is she now ruined? Is her
No,
high school life
so
now ruined?
what happens is the girl who so like kind of like fast forwarding a little bit as they're talking about that when they go to I think it's like the first day of high school or something like that, they wind up finding not only that first of all they want to do judo again, the high school judo club is being shut down essentially because there's like there's literally no members.
Mhm.
And they're also the girl who knocked her unconscious by choking her in middle school tournament is going to their high school. And so they kind of wind up just all teaming up and reforming the judo club. And it kind of just takes off from there. And so the girl, I should probably go with, the 4 main characters, not really 5. I used the thumbnail with 5, but we're like 7 episodes in, and this girl, Samugi, hasn't actually been introduced yet. So not really going to counter that much, even though they go, oh, she's a main. She's not in half the show. So whatever.
So
So let's
between
see. So
the
our four mains is Sanada Michi, Hira Toa, who is the one that choked her in middle school, Sanai Takigawa.
Did she like it though?
Yeah, because she likes people who are good at judo
Oh,
and just has
okay.
fun doing judo. And then there is Anna, Aguma Anna, who starts out, again, spoiler alert, they all do judo by the end of this. She starts out as I can't think of it, the sword fighting.
Kendo.
Kendo.
Yeah, she's in the kendo club, and she's gone to like nationals, stuff like that. And then halfway through, she's kind of like, I kind of just want to do judo because she's wants to spend more time with Michi before
Okay.
before they're like done with high school. She was like, these are like our last 3 years that we're realistically going to be like, this close essentially.
Last 3 years are gonna be alive.
Yeah, exactly. So it kind of just goes from there with a pretty typical sports series. Realistically,
How typical?
Tournaments.
Like, is it realistic or like there's some cool superpowers?
No, it's realistic. Like Michi is extremely like limber and like does like reversals essentially by
Hold on.
doing like flips around them and shit essentially. But like you can do that. Like it's not like
did they mention
it's
how limber she
impossible.
is?
I mean,
Like
no,
when they
it's not
mention
like
like
power level. It's like she's
when
just
they
very
mention,
like acrobatic essentially.
when they mention like being limber and supple in anime and manga, I think of what Joji Morikawa said about that, and I'm like, that might not fly anymore. Do you remember what he said?
No.
Do you remember that Jason Ozma fight?
No.
No.
The one where more near. Do you remember that fight?
For what?
The Jason Ozma fight in Ippon, where they were talking about a.
Well, look, either way,
It's
ultimately,
been a long time since I've read Ippon, so.
All right, just continue.
ultimately, this is extremely like basic vanilla sports school stuff. There's like nothing really more here.
Yeah,
which I don't think is
there's not even
necessarily a
that like
bad thing.
trivia,
Kinda.
right? There's not even that much trivia. It's mostly
there's,
about the
like,
girls in club.
Some trivia for like judo, but it's like realistically, like how much judo trivia are you gonna like spit at people?
That is true.
It's like, yeah, you wear a fucking gi and you throw people to the ground, and if they land on their back, it's an Ippon.
They're like the different like techniques or whatever.
Martial artists blown the
so
fuck out, dude.
Yeah, whatever. But like, you get what I mean. It's like there's not
Yeah.
that much trivia because like ultimately, it's judo. Like you can go over like a lot of stuff and like technique and stuff, but I feel like it kind of blends together. You're not gonna be going over like.
I just want to take this time to apologize to any viewers that are members of channels like.
I'm just saying, it's not like
hey,
you just got
here's how we set up.
You just got obliterated by a podcaster, dude.
MMA Tiger Dojo of senseis or whatever. I apologize.
You're nothing. You're nothing, dude. You just put on a gi and you throw people around.
Yeah. Okay.
But yeah, I think so. There's also,
ultimately, like jokes aside, is like there's no trivia really to go over when it's like they do some stuff with like the belts. They introduce that through like character interactions and stuff like that. But like what they can't do obviously is it's not like you can come out swinging with being like, yeah, here's trivia about like our setup, our club setup, or like the like I guess you would call it like the field or like the arena. It's like no, it's just there. Like it's a fucking rectangle. Like,
Right.
yeah, it has boundaries.
So
Cool.
it's not
like
a.
it's not
So you're
exactly it's
saying.
not exactly trivia.
So you're saying it's not a cool sports anime. It's more of a. It's another girl club anime.
No, it's
But it's just judo.
extremely like a sports anime, but it's not like
But
again,
not
it's
cool
not like
sports.
it's not like sports anime or like a lot of the
Sports
time coming
trivia,
out here
mean.
like rocking. No, I mean just like a sports anime is like coming out swing if it's like a vanilla one. Like if you think of like a basketball anime, like there's gonna be trivia, but it's not like crazy in depth like shit because it's basketball.
Right. Okay.
It's the sport. Like they're just explaining the sport. Like so they go over like some judo moves, but they're not. Again, it's not fucking like I don't know. It's not like a hobby, like in the sense of if you got like a fishing anime where you have not only fish trivia, but then you have all of the gear and like the social aspect of it and everything like that.
Right.
So I think, I don't know. I think overall, like as a sports series, it's fine. It's very standard in that regard. Um, but it's not like, again, you're not going to get like a ton of crazy trivia that you probably either wouldn't have already known or could just like kind of guess or expect.
Mhm.
It's not like they do a full breakdown realistically of like the entire sport of judo either. There are like they kind of like slowly drip feed that in if like you don't know like all of the rules of judo
Right.
rather than just like kind of setting up a match and then explaining to you the rules of judo right away. Which again I think is also fine. I think especially for pacing because it's like like you'll get people who want to watch this for like judo stuff or like want to watch this for like sports stuff for school. But ultimately you do want to get the sort of like girls in a club group in too.
Yeah.
So I think it balances that pretty well. And I think where the series like mostly kind of like shines in a way is sort of like is some of the character interactions paired with the dynamic between the matches and the audio visuals of some of the matches, which are quite nice. I don't
Yeah,
think
the animations, the parts where they specifically decide to like
put all the
emphasize like
money.
the animations, but it's like put all the money in. It's very well like chosen. You know what I mean? It's like
Yeah.
like the steps specifically, like when they plant their feet into the ground, and then like when they are just about to finish, like just about to complete the throw, and like the camera does like the rotation like behind them and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Like those are very well done. Those timings.
Yeah, because it's very much, it's very much like fully showing like how they're keeping their balance, how they're keeping their center of gravity, stuff
Yeah,
like
yeah, yeah.
that, which again is very cool, is very, very nice. And overall, I think the series is just in general a good series. I don't think I have any like real complaints in that regard as far as like quality goes either. I think the one thing that could probably be better is more so the like just basic school parts. I don't think are doing a whole lot or do a whole lot. There's only been like a few moments where the interactions outside of like a tournament or a match and stuff like that that really kind of feel like they have as much of a presence as the dynamics like during matches.
Mhm.
But
Yeah, I
overall,
think
I'm pretty
What's
happy.
the power level compared to other series?
Normal. They're human, extremely human.
So they can't. So it's not like. Well, I don't see them beating Baki in a fight, but like, what other high school girl fight scenes are there? So
I
can
don't
they
know.
beat an
I don't
average
even know
soccer
like
player?
another. I would hope so. They're fucking judo like
Like I don't
folks.
see them beating the Blue Lock, but can they beat the Futsal Boys?
Again, I would hope so. At judo, I would hope a judo club member could beat any just soccer club member at judo. Call me crazy, but I don't think that's
Can
a high
I?
bar to set.
So can I ask something real quick? I know that we made a distinction, or we usually make the distinction between when we have these like girls in a club, right? We have sometimes make the distinction between having the amount of sports trivia and stuff and having, the girls in a club like obviously doing the activity, but focusing a little bit more on the cast and their development with regards to, the sport or whatever it is, right? But more focusing on the girls themselves. So um, would you say a lot of the focus is sort of on the here and now with like how the girls are interacting with each other, or is it all one of those series where they kind of go into each of like the girls' backgrounds, like they take an episode into each of the girls' backgrounds and go like, oh, when I was a young girl, or like when I was
When I
younger,
was in a
like my
young girl,
mom.
I was in a judo accident.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
Yes.
unironically, that. Yeah.
Yes, and that does unironically happen as well.
Yeah.
With
So which is the which is the focus
so
so far?
it's kind of like, so they do here and now for some stuff, but they kind of like set up matches with like importance based on like flashback type deals sometimes.
Okay.
But it depends on how you count it, though, I guess, because the first sort of episode and the setup and stuff kind of does a lot for the first, for like Michi, and how she's like not landed in Ippon. Like she's won matches based on like timeouts and points and everything, but she's never actually managed to land an Ippon. And like I said, she's done like crazy acrobatic shit, but she still just wants an Ippon.
Right.
But so like that was like kind of her stuff, at least so far. But as far as the other characters, they kind of have had like full on like flashback scenes of matches in middle school, or like if two characters in a tournament have a history with each other, as two characters do, and part of it,
Right.
like they have a whole they have like a flashback for their history and sort of their motivation going into this specific match. And it does definitely focus on that, because there's also like tournaments. They don't obviously go through a full fucking tournament. They kind of just go like, here's like the two main teams that we're focusing on with these like 6 characters, and these are the only ones that matter. Their match is the only one that matters.
So there's no cool rival like team that would, like.
It's not like Saki where it's
there
like
is.
you're taking 50
There is a
chapters of the
rival.
rival teams.
Yeah, there is a rival team against like Toa, the girl with the ponytail, who is like
good.
Because she's like a what do you call it? Not like a savant. What do you call it? I mean, I guess you could call it that.
A prodigy.
Yeah,
prodigy?
she's kind of like a prodigy, where it was like she didn't really do judo, and then the moment she picked it up, she's godlike.
Like her
really
muscles were built for judo.
Yeah,
like,
and she
since birth.
surpassed.
Genes,
Yeah, she surpassed her her friend.
Oh,
And, like that was, and took her spot in like the team in like middle school, and then that was like what kind of, like their match against each other was like the focus,
So like
that
when
sort
she
of
was
thing.
5 years old, she beat her father and won over the judo school, something like that.
Not quite that.
Oh, it's kind of lame. She's not that good then.
But yeah,
well,
so
I don't know about that. But
yeah, so it's a lot of it's a lot of like that sort of thing where, like obviously again, their match is the only one that matters. Like it shows the three people on the team, for at least the tournaments that we've seen so far, but beyond that, they don't show like, like when one loses to the other, they don't show the rest of the tournament, because who cares?
Right.
Oh, that's really lame.
Which is fair. I think the tournament we're going to see all of is going to be the upcoming one, where it's like all 5 main characters going into the tournament. Like that we're obviously going to see all of, because, that's going to be a tournament that they're actually going through, Whereas
Mhm.
like the prior tournament was kind of just the rivalry thing, more so than it was supposed to be like there to be a tournament. If you know what I mean. And spoiler alert, they don't win. So
Do they lose badly? Like super
No.
badly?
no, it's literally like, obviously like the neck and neck.
Oh, all right.
And since it's like, three man, it's not like, like you can have like the rivalry settled, but then like another character lose. Shit like that. So. But again, overall, I think it's pretty good. I think a lot of what's there is good. I just do wish that like sort of the more school parts, the out of tournament, the out of match parts were a little bit better. A little bit more of like an original comedy, because it's like very, very like standard comedy that gets pulled in place of something a little bit more unique.
You mean they're just reusing the character shticks over and over again and then adding some slapstick, or what?
Yeah, a little bit like that. And just in general, like it is like character shticks and like slapstick. It's not really like a very like unique joke or anything that is made.
Right.
But again, that's not necessarily like awful. It would just be like, this like if that was the case, I think this series would be like, 10 out of 10. Like you have to watch this type deal.
Mhm.
I mean, like what comes to mind is think about like, like the level of like comedy or like jokes alongside like Bochi the Rock or something. Like that
Oh,
was like, that turned that into like a must watch, whereas like, otherwise it would have just been pretty standard, and you could say like, oh, okay, it's got decent trivia and like good music.
right. It would
But
have been pretty mediocre. Yeah.
yeah, but those sorts of like, that directing and those jokes kind of way elevated it in like the in between.
Yeah, exactly.
How's the
But
animation of the
other than
actual
that-
judo?
Yeah, again, like those are when they need it to be. It's very good. There are parts
Yeah,
obviously
the way
when
that they
skimp out
specifically put in
because
the money. Yeah.
yeah, there are
It
parts when
didn't look
they
good
don't
that
put in
both
all
parts
the
then,
money.
yeah.
But there are definitely some really good shots of like Spire said, with like spinning the camera during a throw, different angles, stuff like that. So I think that's kind of been the highlight in a lot of ways, has been sort of like the audio visuals and the pacing during matches.
Mhm.
What studio is this?
This is studio Bakken Record, which has
I have no idea what that
realistically
is.
not done a whole lot. I think their
Speed
their
Racer,
biggest
the
claim-
original? Damn. They're old.
Oh, they did Joran?
Are they?
That's
No,
weird.
no, they're not. They were established. You're thinking you must be looking at something else, because they were established in 2019. So yeah, like their biggest, I would say their most notable thing was Juron, which wound up being not too hot,
Yeah,
unfortunately.
not good.
Even though, as
Was their
far as I
animation
was
good
able to
for
tell,
Joran?
yes.
Yeah,
From what I
Joran's
watched,
animation. Yeah,
several
yeah.
episodes, and the like audio visuals, like there were certain parts that were like kind of not the best.
Yeah.
Again, which is very much Ippon,
This is pretty
but
similar,
the
yeah.
style and the sort of flourish when it needs it is quite good.
Yeah. They like know when to like pour in the money for the money shots.
Yeah, they know which scenes really need it.
Why does I went to Wikipedia and it linked me to Tatsunoko Production, and I'm like, what's happening here? Is that the same
I don't
thing?
know, are they like the producer?
Oh
I
yeah,
don't
I
know.
mean I see
Or
Ippon
are
again out
they
here.
or are they like a splinter? Maybe a
This might be a
break off
splinter of it.
studio.
Yeah,
From
might be
it.
a sister studio or something. Yeah, break off.
Yeah.
Tatsunoko's
I guess
Bakken record label. So yeah, it's
I guess as
some of
far
these.
as my like final thought really is like, if you like girls with big eyebrows, check this out.
Don't you mean
And
big faces?
yeah, baby
Yeah,
faces.
that's a running theme. So
How are they? How are the voice actors actually? Because
they're
I
quite
see
good.
Koga Aoi. Kogawa
Yeah,
is pretty cool.
I mean the voice cast is very very good. Oh, there's like no real complaints. Nothing's like super crazy stand out, but that's primarily because it's not like the roles are, they're high school girls doing judo. It's not. There's only so much you can do, to say the least.
Most of them are girls that, or the female voice actresses are people who are I guess compared to obviously like the people who are here in the 90s or whatever, they're not like super veterans, but they have gotten anywhere from 5 to 10 years of experience, relative, a decent amount of years in the scene, with the exception of maybe one or two, right?
Main character is voiced by.
Yeah, I think it's like with the
Ito.
fifth main character is voiced by a relative newcomer who really only had a main role. It looks like, oh well, 3 main roles in the past 2 seasons, which
Bang Dream.
Yurei Deco
Bang
and
Dream
in
Group?
Summertime Render.
No, wait, actually,
Are
they
you
did
talking
Bang
about-
Dream
I'm
for
talking
a while
about.
back.
Oh no, who are you talking about? Because I'm talking about Anna Nagase.
Oh, and yeah,
Voice actress.
He had a Nene who
She-
voiced Anna, who is definitely newer for sure. Yeah, she's
Yeah,
done. It's been
she's
about
newer, but she's had quite a lot.
yeah, exactly.
Well, several. I would say.
I'm talking about Ayasa Ito. That's the main character, right?
Yeah,
She's
both of them are
she's the
mains.
Bang Dream chick.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, Teppen,
But yeah.
nice. Oh god.
Most of them 5 to 10 years ish of experience. Again, he had a Nene, probably one of the newer ones amongst a lot. But then they are brought up by people like Nagano Maria, Kohara Konomi, stuff like that, Koga Aoi, Tachibana Hina in the supporting cast. A lot of more popular, like random popular people, A tier, A-listers in the supporting cast for sure. Yeah. Any last words?
Yeah, there's some bald representation in this show with one of the teachers, so. And
Okay.
and he does go after what's her name for having light hair. Anna Nagamo, because he thinks it's fake. And then he gets reprimanded by the judo coach and teacher. And he
Nice.
apologizes by saying something to the effect of like I know of like the struggles with hair or something. Or like I know hair is like a touchy subject or a serious business. So it's like, get some bald representation finally.
Nice.
So no one's had like a tragic judo like
Tragic judo accident when they were
I mean,
young.
the
tragic judo
the
accident when they're young and like
it wasn't really an accident. I mean, there was Sanaya's parents not wanting her to do judo in high school
I thought you were
because
gonna say
she had
died
gotten
in a judo
hurt.
accident. All right.
No,
So like there's no
it was
mass
just like she
judo
was injured, like she broke
antagonist?
her nose or something in middle school, and they kind of like just like didn't want to deal with that anymore when she was in high school. And then
Kind of a letdown not to have like a mass judo antagonist. Like I'm mass judo X. Like I'll defeat you or something.
I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if we get that in the next big
That would-
tournament. But
That,
as
that
far as
would
like
that would completely
the
change my
dramatic
opinion of the series.
backstory was, Toa and the other girl who she like instantly surpassed in middle school and then took her spot on the team unintentionally too. So that was kind of like the big drama, the big moving on point. Hill to get over.
Okay. Well, then again, thank you, Dark, for helping cover.
Oh yeah, what's your score actually? Final score?
Final score probably like 7.
Okay.
Yeah. So that was Mo Ippon. One more, or once more, or Ippon again, or whatever. It is done again by Bakan Records, who have done Joron and like a couple of other small stuff, probably assisted in a couple of other things as well. And yeah, is this a anime original? What is this, manga original?
It's a manga.
This is a manga
Okay.
original.
Okay.
But
Manga original then.
Can't imagine the manga is honestly that exciting. If I'm being real with you, I'm sure
Yeah.
the art. I'm sure the art is good. Probably
Yeah.
kind
It's
of
just
like
that it doesn't have
big
the
thing.
judo
It's just that
animations and stuff like that.
yeah, it's like when you don't have the animation, the shots and camera angles. Not really.
Yeah.
That does pull a lot of the weight. I will say.
Yeah. All right. Thank you, Dark. And next on will be me. I'll quickly go over Sugar Apple Fairy Tale. It has again the same name in English as it does in Japanese. It is done by none other than the illustrious quote unquote JC staff.
What has
It
JC
is
staff done?
uh that is quite a list. JC staff's done a lot of stuff. But same manga
Wait, this
original.
is JC staff.
It is indeed JC staff. They brought in the mainly from what I looked in the staff. They brought in most of the
They brought
Danmachi
in
and Little
money and
Busters.
talent.
Yeah, they brought in the Danmachi and the Little Busters team mainly for a lot of
Damn.
the graphics and the art and stuff like that. They shifted the music production, a lot of the music production, to like Flying Dog Productions, who have done work on stuff like Macross, who have done help with production for Macross, Wataten, Kitan no Aria, and Mahotsukai no Yome. But yeah, visuals mainly from the Danmachi and Little Busters team. The mostly all old like veterans that have either worked with JC
The
staff or
Little
outside
Busters team. That doesn't sound good.
and the Danmachi team. Essentially the Suzuki Yohei, right? The director who did a lot of episode director and directorial and photography stuff and a lot of JC staff series. He was essentially he was the director previously for stuff like Henneko, Planet with Shiboneta, and he also helped with stuff like Zero no Tsukaima from A Million of Zero, Shokugeki no Soma, Food Wars, Damachi, and Little Busters. So I'm guessing that he used sort
Okay,
of
that
his
makes me feel
connections.
a little better.
Yeah. So it kind of he pretty much used his kind of connections in Shokugeki no Soma, in Damachi, in Little Busters, I think, within the JC staff crew or within those project teams to kind of pull and get those connections in and create this team from what it seems to me. But yeah, they are mostly all old veterans who have done a lot of work for JC staff as well as outside stuff. They are coming forth to bear down on this series, and you can kind of see it again in the visuals, which is relatively decent, at least in the static frames as well. Series composition slash script writing done by Minakami Seishi, who did stuff for Raildex, the Paprika movie, screenplay for the Paprika movie, and Shauna. Animation directors and like the animation directors in Maeda Yuriko, Izuka Haruko, and Fukui Mai. Again, they are kind of drawn from stuff like Danmachi, Little Busters, Wecross, Selection Wecross, or whatever the hell you pronounce that name. Um, Suzuki Akira as the art director, did a lot of Raildex, did a lot, helped with a lot of the movies such as Doraemon, Crayon Shinchan, stuff like that. The only real newbie in this kind of cast is Tsubakiyama Hinako, who did Sabikui Bisco's music. She is also working on the music for this. I didn't really notice anything real special about about the music, so I guess that was a little bit part of it. Maybe just some, maybe not properly getting into the pace yet. Akitagawa Jin. Oh, by the way, Nier, did you notice anything like special about like the general BGM OST for like Rusty or Bisco, Sabikui Bisco, or no?
I mean, it was solid.
Yeah.
I didn't notice anything too like crazy about it, but it
You
was
were you
fine.
were like, oh shit, I need to get the OST or anything with that.
No, not that I remember. I don't remember. I do remember it being like good. Like
Yeah, solid. Yeah,
it was unique for sure. For
yeah,
like an action anime. But yeah,
yeah.
I didn't really think it was like
Like you
like
weren't like
life
I need to
changing or
download.
anything.
I
But yeah,
you weren't like I
it,
didn't need to download the
yeah,
OST or
it
whatever.
was a good OST though, for sure.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah, so she did that as well. Obviously, the illustrious Akitagawa Jin, son of Akitagawa Susumu, sound. Background sound in this one was a little bit off at times. Like they were when there was like a like chattering, for instance, going on in the background. There was this like weird in like the town hall, or not in the town hall, in like the town square or whatever, right? There was this like weird echo that was going on at times, which is like why like that doesn't make any sense. So that was a little bit off. I'm not sure what that was about. But yeah. and Manaka Hidenori on photography. Again, part of the Rail Deck Shona Danmachi One Punch Man kind of general line of stuff. But yeah, the staff generally pull from Danmachi Little Busters. Visuals were generally good. You can kind of see it panning out in the staff as well as the general visual quality of this. Pale palette again, similar. A lot of kind of inspirations and kind of drawing similar to what the color palette similar to what they got from Little Busters as well as Danmachi as well. Going over to the voice acting real quick. There's a lot of the supporting cast is done by veterans such as Takahashi Rie, Uchiyama Koki, Ichinose Kana, Yamashita Seiichiro, and Uemaru Yuto. The only kind of quote unquote like not as prolific. I mean, she was still prolific, but the voice behind the female lead, the female main character in Anne, in Nukui Uka, this is her first main role in a while. The last one was back in 2018 or so with Backstreet Girls, Goku Dolls, and even that wasn't like that much of a big project. In my opinion, I think the art director Suzuki Akira probably heard her voice and wanted to kind of pull her in for this project. Maybe is my guess. Sharu, who is the main male. I guess what do you call like the? Because it's like you call the female like kind of heroines, right? Who are following the male lead. What do you call the male characters that are following the uh, main heroine?
A himbo?
Yeah, I
Wait,
call
I'm
them
like
beta
I'm actually
males.
asking
Okay.
her. What?
Beta
I'm actually
males?
asking her because I don't know what you call them.
I don't.
Yeah.
I
Boy
mean,
toy?
we
Yeah, I was
could.
thinking boy toy. I'm gonna mention boy toy later, but it's like, but don't
mean,
want to
for
use that as a
this
constant thing.
Inspire for this series
Guys,
specifically.
we are a
We could
serious
call
podcast,
him.
okay?
We could just say what he is in this series.
What would you call Luca in freaking Bayonetta? Would you call him a himbo? I call him a himbo.
Neo, do you have something to? Do you
Yeah, like,
want to
do you have something
posit
better
your
here?
opinion?
I don't. I got nothing.
I don't.
Yeah.
I don't
Okay.
know.
So
Alright,
one
what's
of the
this main male lead social placement? What's that? What is that?
Yeah, rate his like skull shape.
rate his skull shape. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
You
Like,
say
his
that,
hierarchy
Nair, but
within
do
the
you
patriarchy.
know
Yeah.
what this series is?
Is he a sub 6 or what?
Oh, that's where you were going with that? I thought you were going to a different place with the skull shape.
But yeah.
'Cause,
He's the opposite of a damsel in distress. Like, what do you want? I don't know.
No.
I don't
no,
know.
he's a
But yeah,
slave, dude.
yeah. One of the main male characters is done by Sharu, or I guess the main male character is done by Mizunaka Masaki, who also voices Diablo in Isekai Mawa as well as Kazumi in Gundam Build Divers. So yeah, relatively solid cast there as well. I just also want to mention just one thing for the voice acting. I'm gonna link this to the other guys here in the in private and DMs. But if you guys look here, go to 5 minutes 14 seconds in where Takahashi Rie. So Takahashi Rie voices a sort of tomboy, like small tomboy fairy, like a mini, like petite tomboy fairy in this series. It is quite a good voicing. Like, check it out. It's actually really good. I was like, wait a minute, what the? Like, she didn't sound like this in her previous tomboy role. What happened here? Like, she definitely polished it up, which I do appreciate. So yeah, congrats, props to Takahashi Rie for that. Voicing, I believe the name is Mithril Ridpod, I believe is the fairy's name. But yeah, pretty good. Anyways, going on to the plot real quick. There's so there's a kingdom, there's like a fantasy kingdom. there are humans and fairies, and probably like other like fantastical monsters as well. They fairies and humans lived in harmony, and then humans betrayed them, and
Oh, okay.
yep,
Yeah, I was gonna say, huh? What?
yeah, and then until fairies or until humans betrayed the fairies, and then now humans have essentially enslaved fairies or enslave any fairies that they catch, because what you can do is you can hold the wing of a fairy, like one of the wings of a fairy, like in a separate place, and you can hold it hostage, and it's kind of like messing around with it or like squeezing it or trying to break it is like essentially messing with their life. So you use that, you keep it in like a pouch, or like you keep it to yourself to control the fairy and enslave them.
Wow, so a slave contract, basically.
Yeah, or you don't even need a contract. It's like as long as you hold the wing, you can
Oh,
do whatever you
you
want with
mean
them.
a slave mark?
It's like Davy Jones' heart in like Pirates of the Caribbean. But yeah.
Yeah.
Uh Essentially and then there are also silver sugar masters and kind of candy slash sugar confectionaries, which is like they create these like sugar like portraits and like art and stuff like that. And they also, I believe, the silver sugar master also like dabbles or like uses like silver sugar to create like weird confectionaries, and like fairies really like silver sugar, and there's also that like lore and stuff. But that's like that lore is not very important in this series. It's really not. That's not why anybody really watches it. But the main
So
girl,
what you're saying
who
is that the
is
fairies gave the humans the gift of type 2 diabetes.
yes, exactly. And now the humans are trying to give it back, or like the kind humans are trying to give it back with a silver sugar to feeding to the fairies. But this the main female lead, Halford Anne is wants to be a silver sugar master and wants to create these pretty sugar confectionaries that'll wow everybody, following after her mother's footsteps or whatever it is, and also wants dreams of a world where fairies and humans live equally, and she wants to get to like the capital city or whatever the fuck. And to get there, obviously because it's like dangerous along the countryside or whatever, she buys
Oh,
a
yeah, I was gonna say, you almost said hired. No, no.
yeah, she buys a. No, I wasn't gonna say hi. I'm gonna say buy. I know where
I don't
Japan
know,
is.
man.
I
I
know where
don't know,
Japan's
man. I
headspace
thought I
is.
heard a little H sound coming out
Yeah.
there.
No, 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 no. I know
Because
where
I wouldn't,
Japan's.
hey, listen, I wouldn't really blame you because that was one of the things I was going to say is this series really is just like, yeah, it's just like, so what? He's a slave.
Yeah. No, but that's also true for like any isekais and stuff like that. And remember, because it's like a lot of them very unnatural. It's like, of course they're slaves, bro. Like,
Yeah.
Spire, you can't use the word
Yeah,
slave. I
but
think you
this,
mean
I feel like
indentured servant.
yeah, indentured servants. Sorry, I apologize.
I feel like the problem with this series is that it lays it on like really thick where it's like, yeah, no, these are like slaves, but like it's also like really bad. Like it's exactly what
Yeah.
you think it's like.
Yeah. Well, I think what's emphasized is I'll go into like kind of what I think about the general way that the author approaches the class, like race kind of dynamics here, as well as the slavery issue.
Boy.
But
Yeah, give us your take on slavery. What are your
yeah,
ideas?
Is this
but
Good, bad? I
can't
don't know.
believe you would promote this class-based system, Spire.
yeah, but let me finish the synopsis real quick. Um, it actually, wow. Wait, the My Anime List summary says hires, actually. It doesn't even say, I just noticed it now. It says hires and it doesn't say
Yeah,
buys.
You don't
Holy shit.
you
Okay.
don't hire
that's so
slaves.
good, dude.
You can't do that.
Oh,
Yeah,
yeah,
no, she
my
didn't.
Anime List.
He
Yeah,
very
she
much
bought
does
him.
not hire him.
Yeah. But she buys the like a warrior fairy, which is supposed to be like a fairy that's um based off like that's supposed to be like really strong at like fighting and stuff like that. Called
Yeah,
Shoutout.
i.e. he's human sized and very hot.
Strong as
Yeah,
an
yeah,
ant.
yeah. The hot part is very important for this series. Unironically, very important for this series.
Why? Is
Uh,
it because they sell more or what?
that too, but
No, it's because
I'll
it's
explain a
okay
little
if
bit.
he like, is violent with anyone,
Yeah,
including
with
our
women. Yeah,
heroine.
exactly. Yeah. But anyways, she buys the warrior fairy for protection on her way to the capital to become the silver sugar master and all that bullshit lore that nobody cares about. But she makes a deal with him by word, just saying, if I don't want to be holding this wing really because I want to be friends with you, and so once we reach the capital safely, I will give you back your wing, and then can we be friends? And blah blah blah, and the rest of it's kind of like this very standard, like go to the capital, do the things, blah blah blah, and then you know more mini arcs or episodic stuff, right? You can kind of anybody that has watch something that's like a little bit more journey themed on like a feudal fantasy plus like a little bit of a starting premise knows where this is going, right? It's something like Spice and Wolf or whatever.
So
Not
is it an actual fairy wing or is it an allegory of a fairy wing?
No, it's an actual fairy
No,
wing.
it's a
Like-
But it's like separate. It's like
whole ass
it's like
fairy
a
wing.
separated fairy wing. It's again, the lore is very not important in this series because it's
Yeah,
like
it seems like you could just like kind of pull them off and like put them back on or
Yeah, like-
something.
yeah, and then yeah, it's stupid.
Because I
Anyways.
was gonna say, if it's a male fairy's wings, that's also an allegory towards something else. It's like, oh, I'll take one of your things, I'll give it back later, if you know what I mean. So it's not an
Oh,
allegory? Damn, that's
no,
that's a
it's
waste. Not that kind of series, huh?
But yeah, other than that, again, it's a pretty standard. If you've read any of these like Journey, if you've read any of like the standard like class, race, slavery kind of thing, and how that develops, and these sorts of like Japanese anime, you know where it's going. It's very standard character, emotional development, introspection, interaction with this. You know, Japanese anime writers deal with this very poorly. It has a standard. How can we ever be friends when you hold my life in your hands? All that fucking stuff that you can see from like a mile away, like 5 miles away, right? And then it's like, oh, but I treated you kindly, and then like the guy comes back when she's in danger or like when she's in despair because she, she treated him kindly, so he's like, you know what? She is the special human, blah blah blah, all that shit, right? Stuff that any reasonable anime watcher has gone through or seen like a billion times. So nothing impressive on that end.
Oh, hold
Couple
on.
of
Why
notes.
are the fairies enslaved again? Because
Because the humans betrayed them, or that's pretty much about it. Yeah, like the humans were just like, yeah, we just want to take advantage of fairies because we can, and then hold their wings hostage because that's like the weakness of fairies. And the fairies can do like a bunch of different stuff, right? They have supernatural powers, so the humans are just like, yeah, we'll just enslave the fairies. That's supposed to be the lore.
Which is,
So
probably the most
not too far from
human
the truth.
thing.
Yeah,
Yeah,
not too far from the truth.
pretty damn realistic.
Yeah. So a couple of notes. When Anne and Shadow meet each other, the two's meeting are pretty cheesy. It's like the girls are like, I've never seen such a pretty fairy, and then what is it? It's like it kind of the entire series is very cheesy on the lines. It's like the banter, a lot of the comedy banter leans into the fan service very heavily as well. For instance, like where it's like the girl is asking, "Can you be my bodyguard?" And then the guy is just like, "Yeah, I can be. Yeah, I can do whatever you order me to. I can give you a kiss as a bonus or service as well." And like trying to fill that sort of very proactive fan service into the comedy. But obviously that's similar in when the genders are swapped, right? When you see a bunch of rom-com harems as well, with the male main character as well as the female heroines, they kind of do a similar thing, right? They kind of fill the comedic banter with the fan service from the female heroines. So it's essentially the same thing. The hero, just like again in the rom-com harem, where the heroines throw themselves at the male main character, the male targets, the male characters or the boy toys or himbos or whatever, throw themselves at the female main character. Again, not too different.
wait, hold
What?
on,
Yeah.
Near. Is Saber a slave?
She's a servant.
Indenture, sir.
But you pay a cost in order to summon them, right? And they're bound by a contract.
Yeah, but you don't
Like that
buy
they
them from
can't-
someone.
They can't deny.
Um,
Is fate a glorified slavery?
I mean,
I mean,
kind of.
they're
but
they're
it's,
servants, bro. Like
Yeah,
it's
like,
in the name.
basically
Like
are.
they serve their master. Like
Indentured servants.
Yes. The answer is yes. The answer.
Damn,
Yeah,
I gotta rethink. Well, I gotta rethink this whole thing now.
I mean, they literally, dude, they literally go into that in Fate, bro. Like they're effectively
never thought of it
glorified.
before.
They're glorified familiars. Like they don't really have free will. Like
Damn, it's 2023. This can't stand.
Anyways, the fate stuff aside, the what I would say is the interesting kind of difference between the whole standard male main character, female leads, rom-com harem stuff, as opposed to something like this, with a female lead and the male sorry, female main character and the male leads. And I've noticed this in a couple of other recent like series as well. Is that there's like with the rom-com with the male main character rom-com harem, right? There's this like weird coping mechanism that's developed recently where oftentimes a female heroine will do something, right? Like proactive or provocative, like the boobs or the shower scene, or like they're jumping his bones in his bed or whatever it is, right? But then right afterwards, there's this like they spend X amount of seconds where they're like saying something, right? They're justifying their action, what they like, why they did that thing just now, right? Like the kudere will just be like, "Oh, because you're my fiance," or whatever, or like the tsundere will be like, "Oh, I just had to clean something off," or like they'll make some like weird justification that'll be like part of this like weird banter, right? But in this series, and I think in a bunch of other sort of female main character, male lead kind of ultimate game style kind of series as well, or reverse harem style series as well, the male characters kind of just do stuff, right? They'll just do the kabedon, where they'll just glomp onto her, and they're just like, "Isn't this what you want?" Like, or they don't even say, "Isn't this what you want?" They just like just do the kabedon, where they just like getting close for the kiss, or they just put their face like right like close to her, or like glomp onto her, just like without they don't really say do anything like real that like explains why they're doing it. It's just like they just do it, and I guess the female viewers are just expected to be like, yeah, this is what I want. This is the you know what I mean? It's very like they don't even have that coping mechanism. They're just like, no, we don't need justification. This is just what it is, which I think is pretty funny in a sense, right? Um, so I haven't seen. It's like that being said, I don't obviously watch or read many of these, so I haven't really seen this level of like the male character flying around, putting their close faces close up to the female lead or whatever. I haven't seen a bunch of that since something like Barojo no Kiss. I think that was the last one that I like read through a lot of. Um, there's also like the male lead keeps saying like when the female main character has the male lead's wing, right? The male lead, like the cool like black haired dude or whatever, right? He keeps saying, I'll only do things when ordered, so order me. I'm like, is this trying to tickle some weird like female viewer
Yes.
dom sub fetish? Like, is
Yes.
this is what is it? It's a dom sub fetish, right? That they're trying to tickle.
Yes.
Um,
definitely.
You don't need to even ask that question. Absolutely.
Why
I'm
doesn't
like,
she
all
just
right.
eat the wing to gain magical powers?
Yeah, it's like so it's like the guy keeps trying to like kabedon the girl, and it's like you got to order me around. It's like okay, yeah, all right, calm down there. And then one last thing, I won't spoil it really, but like one of the characters, one of the male leads does like full psychopath, um, and it kind of reminded me of that one Donald Glover skit about crazy men in a relationship versus crazy women, where it's like the skit was like you always hear all the comedy skits for like relationships for crazy people in a relationship is always about like crazy women, because crazy women will like scream and like kick and do whatever, but they won't like really harm people. They'll just like upset people. But like crazy men in a relationship, you never hear the funny stories about them, because when they go crazy, they just like hurt people. like people just die. And so that was sort of what I was kind of reminded that sort of skit was what I was reminded of for the when one of the male leads goes insane or crazy and does weird shit. Uh, other than that, there's not really much to say. I mean, it's very middle, not even middle of the road. It's just like a very standard. Oh, you want the fetish, right? It's like you want the hot dude leaning into the girl's face, right? Here it is. Eat it. Eat the fucking cake, motherfucker. This is what you feel viewers wanted, right? And that's all about it. Obviously, if you value that sort of stuff, watch it as a guilty pleasure or whatever. I think it's perfectly fine. I think there's some value to that. I won't be like, wow, I can't believe you guys read this crap or whatever. There's some value if you want to read that, but there's not much value beyond that. Is what I'm saying. The story is very stereotypical. You can see like 99% of it coming from a mile away. Most of the reverse harem stuff, most of the romance stuff pretty much fits what they do, pretty much fits what it does in the gender reverse version of a standard rom-com harem stuff. There's really no surprises in this series. No surprises in character developments, no surprises in character interactions, no surprises in character introspections. The lore isn't very important.
Is it better
Classism,
than 50 Shades of Grey, though? That's the new hot
yeah,
stuff,
I mean
right?
that's not a very high bar. I would say it has that sort of bias, but it's definitely a little bit better. Also, it's not really smut focused. It doesn't actually have any smut. But there's the just I guess a small note on like the whole like classism, racism, slavery, and how they deal with it. They don't deal with it very well. I mean, there's like scenes of obvious. There's like one or two scenes of sort of cruelty where the fairies are just treated like quite badly, and it's just like, oh, that's because the humans are the masters, and some humans are just like very crude like that, and whatever it is. So that's like one thing. But beyond that, there's no real proper exploration of like how different fairies feel about this, or how the interaction kind of works out, or the general sort of dynamics, the sociocultural dynamics, right? Which I don't really expect from this series, but again, it's a pretty much it's another one on the pile of Japan's just or Japanese anime writers are just not good at writing this. And that's why I also keep being like, I don't really understand why. Like this series, I kind of like, you know, um, get like its value because it's the slavery thing aside, it's like it has its value, it has its head in a different place, headspace, right? But something like 86, for example, right? Where that was super popular and that was essentially focused around the whole like different like races or whatever it is and the social cultural like interactions, right? I never got why that became popular because it didn't deal with that series didn't deal with this subject properly either. So it's just disappointing that people are just kind of like, yeah, Japan is bad at explaining different races and discrimination and slavery. Like they're just bad at it. These 99% of animes do not do well in explaining these sorts of things, and people kind of just eat it up anyways. And they're like, yeah, slave, yeah, of course, and it's a little bit disappointing, or very disappointing rather. But at least again with the series, it's in a slightly different headspace. It has a different set of objectives. But
is the cooking at least good? This is a cooking series, right?
it is not a cooking series. It doesn't have much of the actual like
No
making
real
the
like baking.
So like when they call it like sugar confectionaries and stuff like that, what they do is like they make sugar portraits or like they make like these like sugar sculptures or whatever. It's like
So
weird.
like no, they're not no real confectionery stuff.
Yeah, they're
It's
not
just a
making like
medium?
actual food items. They're making sculptures. Like ice sculptures. Imagine that, but like sugar. That's like what they're making essentially.
Yeah, which is
So
unfortunate because like when I had
yeah.
first
Also, they
checked
don't
this out, I thought
really
it was
do a
going to
lot
be
of
like
it.
one of those like, Japanese like confectionery like craftsman type things. Where it's,
No, no,
it's still a edible candy, but it's like a really cool goldfish, stuff like that. And then it was just like, nah, it's like extremely elaborate and not like confectionery trivia type stuff.
yeah. But yeah, I mean, overall, I just was not very the whole like fairy versus human racism, discrimination, racism, slavery dynamic wasn't impressive, but I didn't really expect. I mean, it wasn't good. It just was not good. But I didn't really expect it to be good anyways. I didn't expect much from this author or Japanese writers about this subject anyways.
So what's your rating?
Yeah, it's probably if I had to rate it as a guilty pleasure, it would probably be a 5 out of 10. If I had to rate it just like outside, just like as an overall objective kind of top level thing, I'll probably give it a 4 or 3.5 maybe out of 10. Yeah. Honestly, like sometime down the road, I want to start giving lower and lower scores to people who or to writers in anime series that bring up and use like the whole discrimination, racism, classism, slavery kind of thing, but just like use it as like a cudgel. And I want to start giving lower and lower scores, but I just don't know where to start. It's such a stupid like I've seen so much of this like like how can we be friends when I always treated as lower class. Like I've heard that phrase so many times. Like I could fucking hear that shit in my
Yeah,
sleep.
and it really makes you think every single time. See,
Yeah,
it
it makes
stuck
me
with
cry
you,
every
dude.
time. Yeah, yeah, that's true. I apologize. It's very deep. Yeah, saying that while they have tears in their eyes, it always makes me cry every time.
Yeah, and they go, but
But
I'm just like you.
yeah, exactly. It's I just want to be friends. How can we be friends
You're
when we're
just like
from different?
us.
Yeah, when we're from different casts or whatever. You
Yeah,
know,
really, just like
God,
fucking
We all
hitting
look the
noobs
same on the
around.
inside.
yeah, it's like you say that now, but I know you'll betray me in the end. Like I fucking want to punch a Japanese anime writer every time I hear that shit, man. But yeah, nothing too impressive. If you want to watch it as a guilty pleasure, you might be suck some juice out of it. As like if you like, the Otome game stuff where boys throw themselves at the girls, at the girl, main girl, you'll be able to suck some juice out of this. Other than that, it's not good. It's not very good. So that's all I have to say.
Yeah,
It
if you want a
is again.
real woke Japanese series, watch Kamen Rider Black Sun.
Jesus. Anyways, this is Sugar Apple Fairy Tale. This is a manga original adapted, excuse me, by JC Staff. Again, JC Staff brought in mainly the Don Much and the Little Busters team, mainly a crew of old veterans to help animate this. Animation is pretty decent, or visual quality is relatively decent. The story is not very decent. Take it as you will. And yeah, that was all I had for Sugar Apple Fairy Tale. And last but not least, Nier, what do you have for us?
Yeah. So I watched Hikari no O.
Yes. Hopefully, an actually good series.
Yeah. So also translated to the Fire Hunter.
Yes, sir.
This is a Signal MD
Yes.
production.
For those of you who don't know, Signal MD is one of those small companies made under the larger Production IG umbrella company. Production IG used to be a kind of animation studio unto themselves, and they split themselves up into like about 5 different companies. But not all of them work on specifically animation. Some of them do like digital web stuff. Some of them have like manga publishing stuff, so on. So, yeah.
Yeah, I think main producer for this is Wow Wow.
Mm-hmm.
I think they're just like a general broadcasting company. The staff,
Wait, this is Nishimura Junji?
Yes, this is Nishimura Junji,
Oh,
director. He's directing it.
Good stuff.
Script and series composition by Mamoru Oshii. I really
Mhm.
shouldn't need to tell you who Mamoru Oshii is. Yeah, sound director Katsuhiro Wakabayashi. He's worked on Mob Psycho, stuff like that.
Yeah.
Godzilla Singular Point.
This
There's
is a
there's a
wait,
lot of talent
Kenji
here.
Kawai,
Kawai
what the
Kenji, yeah,
fuck?
Kawai Kenji as music.
Wait, did we talk about this during news? I
We
feel
did.
like we talked
We talked
or
about this
during
during
previews.
previews. Yeah,
Yes,
yeah.
yes,
I
yeah,
was
yeah.
very optimistic about this series.
Yes.
So there's a lot of talent behind this
Yes.
series. And I'll just go over a brief. I mean, the synopsis on Mal kind of just covers all of it. I'll go into a little bit more depth, but
Yeah.
human civilization no longer revolves around fire, but is instead now driven by fear of it. Repeated wars have changed human biology, and people are now spontaneously combust when they get close to natural flame. However, a new source of energy prevents society from complete collapse. A stone-shaped material used to produce light and steam lies within the bodies of monsters that infest numerous forests. Those tasked with collecting this precious resource are called fire hunters. Toko, a young village girl, is saved from a forest monster by a fire hunter who perishes during his heroic action. After the hunter's dog, Kanata, heals from his injury, the girl's family sends her to the capital in order to return Kanata and the hunter's fire sickle to his relatives. Elsewhere, the fire hunter's son, Koshi, and his sister are adopted by a wealthy family. Koshi learns some troubling facts related to the country's ruling royal family. He conducts secret research on a special firestone found by his late father, kickstarting a race against time between the country's leaders and those trying to save mankind from its ultimate demise.
Okay. So
Is
pretty solid
is
premise
this
to start
Wild
off.
Hearts?
Yeah.
So that's
Yeah.
actually a pretty solid premise to start off with.
So the
Honestly.
premise is solid. The series starts pretty much straight up with the fire hunter's death. And then it's sort of episode 1 is, if I remember right, episode 1 is almost entirely focused on Toko, who's sort of like the main character.
Mhm.
And sort of her essentially being shipped out of the village. Because this series has a very interesting world where I guess the values of people are very different, and sort of the culture and sort of the way the village sees um, Toko is that she is partly responsible for the fire hunter's death, right? Because the fire hunter died saving her. And so
Right.
it is now her responsibility to travel to the capital, which is a very dangerous journey, to return the firekeeper's belongings to his family, right? Key of which being the dog, Kanata. And the dog has sort of bonded itself to Toko, and goes like everywhere with her.
Mhm.
And so the basic thing is like, yeah, like you have to leave. Like you basically don't have a choice. Like you have to take responsibility for what you've done, whether you intended to do it or not. And they sort of put her on this shipping car from the capital that sort of makes the rounds to all these villages. And her story is sort of, you know, um, a bit of I guess like a traveler's story kind of thing. It's sort of just like journeying around. Misfortune befalls the shipping car, obviously, and they have to sort of go it on foot. And all the trials that come from that. And then there's the second story here with Koshi, which is the son of the dead fire hunter. And like the synopsis says, he gets adopted by this like noble family. And the reason the noble dude is like adopting him is Koshi is like really smart, right? Like he's like
Mhm.
fucking brain genius. But he's poor as shit, right? Like he's dirt poor. His parents are dead. He's got no job. He's got no way to take care of his sick sister. And this noble comes along and says, "I'll adopt you, and take care of your sister, so long as you help me, research this thing, right? And of
Mhm.
course he agrees. And then it's revealed that the thing that he's trying to research is this new form of energy, basically. And so the series obviously establishes that the monsters in the forest, which I think they just call them like fire fiends or something,
Mhm.
when you kill them, they bleed like this gold sap, right? And they can use this sap to effectively make fire, but they call it, artificial fire or whatever.
Mhm.
And they can, use this as sort of an energy source to create steam, or what have you, to power engines, right? But then there's this other rarer sap or whatever called, I think they call it like skyfire, um, which comes from a different type of beast, which comes from the sky or whatever. They
Like
call them
meteorites.
something like that. They call them like fell beasts or something.
Okay.
And the reason that this noble dude wants Koshi to research this Skyfire is he essentially foresees that the current government, right, the current ruling class, which are referred to as the divine clans or whatever, he sees essentially like their collapse, like is imminent, because this opposing faction called the Spiders is, uh, scheming to essentially attack the Divine Clan. And the Divine Clan is set up as effectively their gods, right? Um, they have the ability to control the elements, um, like water, fire, or earth, or whatever, right? They're basically, at least from what I seem to understand it, is they're kind of setting them up to be like airbenders, but they're like immortal, right?
Oh, okay,
Um,
okay.
and they're like their ruling class. They're like, um, the quote unquote government. Nobody seems to like ever see them. And the spiders are a like former like divine clan that sort of split off, and now they hold a grudge or whatever. So there's some um like political mystery stuff going on. Um, but Koshi's story is largely like an expository tool, I find, at least in the early episodes, because he's researching a bunch of stuff and figuring out secrets of the world, and a lot of it's sort of used as exposition for just the general world building and unraveling um, what exactly happened to humanity to cause them to just explode into flames whenever.
That's a very interesting point that you're making, or like emphasis that you're making here, because I would have thought that, I mean, usually this exposition via the characters is pretty obvious when they're like when it's just the stage before they, set off to help solve the problem or whatever, save the world, blah blah
Yep.
blah, right? But are you implying that his role is going to stay as an exposition exposit
I
or
don't believe so. I
expose?
don't believe so. I
Yeah,
think,
okay, okay. So it's more of a standard phase before
yeah.
the saving
I
the world
think
comes. Yeah.
I think it's just
Okay.
because the way Koshi's story is set up, he's going to, effectively his quote unquote job right now is literally like going to the library and reading
Okay,
books,
okay,
right?
okay,
So
okay.
like whenever they cut to him, it is essentially like, obviously he has character moments and character building, but a lot of it is sort of just like, he goes to the library, he reads a
Mhm,
book about, effectively the creation myth of the current, you know, form that humanity has taken,
mhm.
and sort of unraveling the mysteries of that, and sort of, like, is there more to this or whatever? Um, like
Right. So,
one of them is talking about like one of the gods or whatever,
mhm,
um, and sort of, so the way, like, this is a very like lore heavy series,
right.
um, and so like one of the scenes goes into, so all of the fire hunters, right? They carry like their main weapon is a sickle, right? Like it's sort of like a
Yes.
harvesting sickle, right? Um, And the reason for this is because one of the gods, like one of the original gods, apparently created a like holy sickle within her own body, right when like the beasts sort of came into creation, right? Right, like once they started to, I guess, like attack people, this god created this holy sickle which was able to like kill them or whatever. And sort of the way they read into that is sort of like, are these creatures like actually a natural phenomenon, or were they created specifically by the gods so they could be killed for this new energy resource kind of thing? There's a bit more going into it. A lot of it's sort of like unraveling the mysteries of like the creation myth and the gods, and what happened to humanity, why exactly you know they combust near fire, what was the old humanity like, stuff like that. But yeah, a lot of Koshi's stuff is expository, and then Toko's is more of the like
Setting up for
adventuring.
the save. Yes.
Yeah, like
It's just creating like a journey, like a journey theme, like backbone, and two, setting up for the saving the world premise
So
part,
is
right?
so
I
is
think.
the is the
potentially, 'cause
implication, by the way, for the sort of like creation myth and stuff, is the implication that like we're not sure if that's like the case, or like is it up in the air as to whether or not there is actual like mysticism going on, and this isn't just like like post apocalypse type shit?
So from what I've seen, so from what they've sort of implied is that like the divine clans are gods. Like they are effectively, they do in fact have the ability to control like elements. Because one of the stories, or at least that's the way it's currently set up. We haven't seen any of them, so like it's sort of left with a little bit of wiggle room as to like, oh, maybe they're just, maybe it's just a convenient thing. But like one of the main reasons that the noble guy that adopts Koshi wants to develop this Skyfire effectively into a new weapon that can be used by humanity to defend themselves without reliance on these gods is apparently, like a long time ago, there was a disaster in the capital city, and essentially what it was is a small, I don't remember why exactly, but a small thing of like natural fire broke out in one of the factories, and because of the fact that it's the capital and there's a lot of people closely packed together, as soon as one person spontaneously combusts from this natural fire,
Oh,
it
okay. Because it's
spreads,
like
right?
actually people like bursting,
Yeah,
right?
like
'Cause
the people are actively like exploding into flames, and so it
and,
spreads
and
from person to person because the
right,
way it's set
right,
up is
right.
just mere
Oh,
proximity
okay,
to
right.
fire causes you to
Because like
combust.
the humans are the combustible materials this
Yeah.
time. Right. Okay.
Yeah,
And
you know
so
what? This sounds like Parasite Eve. Is it the mitochondria? I bet it's gonna be the mitochondria.
But yeah, so because of this, like it spreads through like this whole district, right? And then they say, the gods caused a rain, like they caused rain to essentially quench the
Mitochondria
fire,
rain.
right? And so this noble dude is saying, they waited, like specifically, like the gods specifically waited for like a whole bunch of people to die, so that way they could essentially quell the human population within the capital before intervening. And so
Oh, okay.
the noble is sort of under the presumption that the gods do not have humanity's best interest at heart, and so it would be better to develop a weapon with this Skyfire to be able to defend themselves against this overarching threat that is this Spiders clan,
Okay.
which seems to have some other sort of mysterious power. that they've alluded to some ability to like actually control like natural fire.
Mhm.
But yeah, there's quite a bit going on with the factions and the political intrigue and stuff, but none of it gets very like overwhelming or hard to follow, and a lot of it is actually very interesting, which is props to the series and the source material, I'm sure. But yeah, Toko's story is much more like character focused and sort of her journey throughout the forests, and I think in the most recent episode they have actually gotten to the capital. So I'm sure the stories are probably going to meet and intertwine shortly. But yeah, so far story-wise, this series is immaculate. Like it's really good. The characters are really good. Like pretty much every single character, like every character, you can tell like this character like has history, you know. Whether it's told to you or just shown to you or sort of, alluded to. Because when Toko first gets onto the shipping like car or whatever, right? She gets bunked up with these three brides, right? They're being married off from their villages to other villages. And they go into like why they're being married off, and all of these girls are essentially being blamed for curses that are on the village, right? Whether it be a bad harvest or one of the girls, like their village specializes in making clay, like pottery. And apparently the clay like that year is rubbish. Like it's basically water. Like you can't form anything with it. And so they're marrying this girl off in hopes that it wards off this curse that's been placed on them, or at least so they believe. And they don't spend very much time with these characters, but like they're very real. They're very like fully realized characters.
Within the culture of the series.
Yeah.
Or culture created within the series. Sorry.
Yeah. It all feels very natural. Like it's sort of doing the like it's using these characters as sort of an expository tool to sort of expand upon the general culture of the way these villages work and how they're sort of connected, and like what happens between um I guess moments of distress, and how a lot of these villages seem to place very, very big significance on like personal responsibility, like Toko being shipped off, these brides being shipped off as like they're viewed as being responsible for these curses somehow, what have you, and how like that weighs like heavily on someone to the point where they need to be essentially pushed out of the village.
Right.
And it doesn't feel like you're being told exposition. Like it feels like a very natural conversation. And obviously it helps that Toko herself is a very young character, and she's not knowledgeable about the world or anything. Because she's like 11 or something, and she's just being pushed out into the wilderness basically. And yeah, it just all feels very, very good. And yeah, I like it a lot.
What about you just I'm gonna try to list these in. I have like three general-ish questions, although I want to try to not take up too much time. But if you can give me uh I guess, yeah, okay. So I have like three general questions, and I'll try to put them in order so that it won't be too confusing. But first, so this series right now, again, it's still sort of building up the lore, right? Because obviously the main story or the main series is about the lore and what people do with it, right? And
Yeah.
lore, we mean the general like driving force of the plot, the concept or whatever, right? So once everything gets kind of fully fleshed out, then what do people do with it? And oftentimes, it kind of there are usually two kind of general ways a story unfolds when it kind of goes into this realm, right? One is like after it explains the entire lore, it kind of becomes this like almost not like cosmic horror thing, but it becomes very like, oh, this is just the world. We can't do much about it. So like all they do is kind of like observe and reflect, right? Like that's one path they go down. And then the other path they go down is lore into action, right? Which is like, okay, we know everything about this. We know about the secret societies. We know about the bad people, whatever. Now let's go save the world, right? So, which kind of path do you think this series is going down? Do you think it's going down? It's going to explain everything, and then it's going to just kind of observe slash reflect upon this horrible world or whatever, this messed up world, or do you think it's going to go down the saving the world kind of pathway?
I don't really see them going down the save the world path. I can see them sort of going down a humanity carving its own path kind of
Okay.
story. Because the world that this series has set up, it's pretty bleak, right?
Yeah.
Humanity is scattered in these villages. They're very reliant upon this energy source that's very dangerous to extract. The winds of change are blowing in the sense that the series is sort of setting up this like upcoming clash between the ruling faction, which is this divine clan, and this outside faction of the spiders, which and neither of these factions' motives are really known. And so I do think the main characters of this series are, for lack of a better word, weak, right? Like they're not like your typical hero. You know what I mean? They are sort of
Yeah.
like Toko is a child. She's 11 years old. She needs somebody to protect her. Whether that's Kanata the dog, which is mostly being her protector for most of this series, or it's some of the other fire hunters that she's come along. Akira, the red-haired girl, being the main one. And then Koshi is
It's just a bookworm.
like he's a bookworm. Like he can, I'm sure he can put the tools into other people's hands to enforce action, but he himself is likely not going to be doing anything.
Right. And they're also like neither of them are. They don't have plot armor, or it doesn't seem like they have a bunch of plot armor where they could just roll into wagons in time and just hide in time and just get into the castle securely for some reason, and then all that. It doesn't seem like that.
And this series has sort of very effectively established that people are pretty fragile, right? In this world, like it's somebody can die just in the snap of your fingers, right? And there's not really any, like when a character dies in this series, there's really no fanfare. It's just like, they're dead.
I'm gone.
You have to move on. Like you have to keep going.
Exactly.
Like the world in this series is pretty cruel, but it's not like
how much cutting away of the characters are there? Like, so it's like, let's say some characters are introduced, they have names, they told a little bit of the story. How likely is it that the characters are just like randomly going to die, like a comic get kills kind of levels, or what?
So there's only been one event so far that has really like culled the characters, and that is I don't want to really spoil it, but the car, like the shipping car that Toko is in, gets attacked, right?
Okay.
By monsters, and a lot of people die, and it's not really treated like in a series like, say, famously, I guess, Attack on Titan, right? When you have an event where a lot of characters die, right? It's very melodramatic, right?
Right.
It's like the beaches of fucking Normandy, like
people are screaming,
every
people
single
are crying. In this, it's like people are dying, but like we're in the perspective of Toko, right? Who isn't she's not physically seeing all these people die, right? and so
Okay.
they're simply dying, right? They're just dying.
Yes.
It's not like, you know, there's no sad music playing, there's no slow motion going on. And then when one character does die that's close to Toko, you know, it's like it's a dramatic event, but there's more important shit happening. You need to leave. You know, you need to
Yeah,
you need to get
exactly.
the fuck out of there. So there's no
So
real dwelling
it's
on
more
it.
of a conventional, I would say,
It's like trying
like
to escape
it's
from
like a
traveling
disaster,
apocalypse,
you know,
like
it
type
is
thing.
like
Yeah,
a
like a
disaster
natural
happening.
disaster.
Where it's
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
Or
you know,
like,
I'm trying to
do
escape a
not,
burning building. I need to get
you
away.
don't have time to think about, oh no, this person's dying. It's like I
yeah,
gotta
well,
I gotta
I
fucking
mean,
go.
in
You know?
the sense of how the story's pacing out, it's like it is very much almost treating it like a force of nature type thing rather than like,
Yeah, it's not like you know, the bad guys are here to kill the characters. It's like, you know, something bad happened and then people died.
Yeah, you can't really like prevent it.
yeah, and ultimately while maintaining the focus on like the voyage type
Yeah.
Right.
thing, like the
right.
importance of that.
Okay.
But yeah.
And then, so I guess that answers that question of like how sort of big the characters are compared, or how small, rather, in this case, how small the characters are compared to the overall story of the setting. Which, again, I think it's a little bit more uncommon. I think that sort of thing is a little bit more unique than the usual, like, oh, we're lucky kids that can save the world or whatever. So
Yeah.
I think that's a pretty uncommon, although not necessarily unseen twist, but that's pretty good. Um, uh, the second question is, so again, the story takes up the idea of viewing this world, and the idea of, again, the brunt of this series is about knowing the world, right? The value sort of the series, other than seeing sort of how Toko gets kind of here and there, is again knowing about this world, right? And so, do you think that's do you like that sort of idea, right? Because a lot of times, especially if you don't do it very well, even if you do it kind of decently, it can kind of end up being falling off, right? Because you're kind of just doing exposition. Here's lore, here's another secret society, here's secret society number 2, here's corporation number 3, or whatever it is, right?
Yeah.
Do you think this format and the brunt of what it's delivering, right? Not saving the world, not super, oh, this character has this background or whatever, but it's pretty much the world, right? Um do you like that sort of idea, and how it's like formatted in here? I guess you already said kind of you like how it's like
So
the
I like
exposition occurs, but
I like the way it's done here, though.
Mhm.
I think the main factor is I find this world very interesting. I think
right,
they've
that
done a
also is
very
important.
they've done a
Yeah.
very good job at sort of leaving the carrot on the end of the stick in this series, in sort of
Mhm.
how they drip feed you information
Right,
about this
right.
world. Because I feel like a lot of series where they say, you know, oh, humanity has undergone some sort of cataclysmic event, and you know, humanity itself has had to change its way of life, and you know, humanity itself has changed in this series, right? Like
Something Fire Nation, right?
yeah.
Yeah.
And so I think the way this series uses language and sort of the way it describes a lot of events in sort of a mix of like because a lot of some of the older characters will talk about this event as if like, you know, oh, of course you should know about this kind of thing.
Mhm.
But then some
So
of
the
the
characters take like certain attitudes as well. Like they have an ingrained, like, yeah.
yeah, so some of the other characters will talk about, you know, the events as if like it's almost like gospel, right? Like it's a mythical event, right? And the fact that they've sort of I forget which telling it was, but it was one character was essentially saying that effectively for the crimes of humanity's past, right, which is it's implied very heavily that humanity was like, tearing itself apart with war in this series. Humanity and life on Earth in general was sort of reborn, is the word that they use.
Okay.
And they don't really expand upon that. They make it very obvious that humanity itself has sort of undergone a biological shift, along with, a lot of the animals on the Earth itself, because a lot of these monsters, right, that create this honey-like energy resource are effectively just animals, right? Like they're bears or they're big birds or monkeys or something, right?
Right.
They are basically just mammals. And the only like normal animals we see in this series are dogs, right? Like hunting dogs. And they're like dogs themselves seem to be a very important animal in this series, to the point where like a dog is just like seen as a fire hunter's companion. There's no other purpose for a dog, at least not that this series has shown. But yeah, the way it sort of goes into revealing like layer by layer for the world, I think is done very well. It helps that the world setup is interesting. It's it doesn't like the series itself doesn't start with a big exposition like lore dump. It sort of just dumps you in the world and has you uncover things as it goes. I think it's done quite well in this series, at least.
One last question. What is your opinion about, I guess, the way that Koshi is set up in this story? Like, yes, he has the whole, like, background of he's a bookworm, he's a smart kid who just is in the library and telling the story. But as you said, what he essentially is he's a exposition accelerator, right? He takes the bookworm role, and by taking the bookworm role and by reading all these things, he helps the viewer get more of the story in a quicker sense than if Toko had solely traveled around and heard, stories every once in a while from the different characters, right? From the mob characters. So, but obviously the um the standard, like, what people might point out who might not have watched the series, right, if they had heard it from you, right, what they would point out is like, okay, well, you just have a random freaking character in there who's just like reading stuff and who's just doing like just listing out exposition all the time, right? So what do you think of the general sort of role and how they set up, or how the authors or the writers, sorry, set up Koshi like this? Do you think it's okay for this series in particular, or do you think it's still maybe not like a particularly like healthy role for a character to be in, or what?
So it's hard to say right now because again, we're only in the first half,
Right.
and it's very obvious that this series is intending to have Toko and Koshi, like their storylines are going to meet, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
And so it's hard to say as to whether Koshi's focus will shift, because Koshi and the family he's with right now, the noble family, right?
Yes.
The daughter of the noble family's name is Kira, and she also seems like she's going to have a fairly important role later on. And so I think their dynamic is probably going to be important. I do think Koshi's like focus is going to shift dramatically. I do think him sort of being very involved in the political sort of intrigue to this story is probably going to be more pronounced later on. As for like his role right now, I think it's fine. I do think it's tricky because I think the balance between like Koshi's motivations for him doing what he's doing right now, and sort of the way it is very natural feeling, right? Because Koshi's initial
Right.
role is to do research, right?
Right,
And
exactly.
the fact that his research happens to coincide with helpful exposition for this series, it just feels
He's
like
set up for that.
it feels very smart.
But at the same time, you also kind of have that feeling in the back of your mind where it's like, oh, he's kind of being used. Like this character is kind of being used for that purpose, right? So it's
Yeah.
like a little bit of conflict. Yeah.
But it is tricky to sort of like obviously he's not going to hold that role forever, right?
Forever.
Because
Yeah.
they are going to have to shift his focus to something else later on, because eventually he is going to finish his research, right? Because obviously this Skyfire like plot line has to develop into something,
Right.
and then after that, whether it be his relationship with Kira, whether that intermingles with Toko's storyline, and the dog or what have you, like it remains to be seen, right? I do think it's very well done in the first half. As for what becomes of the character, I really can't comment on that because I haven't seen it. I haven't read up on the source material myself. But yeah, I do think right now, while again, it is very easy to sort of see this character's role as being, the exposition delivery. He is still a very natural character, and his storyline doesn't feel like it is being, taken away from, by having that role. I feel.
Right.
So I do think pretty much all the characters in this series are done extremely well, like very very well.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
and I think with this setup, it's definitely a little bit more difficult, like given the more uncommon structure or like the the set of objectives of like how the story wants to be structured and like uh where it kind of wants to go. It's definitely more uncommon than a lot of other story structures, right?
Yeah.
As well as the how even the characters are set up really is definitely much more uncommon. So definitely Nishimura Junji, the writers, they just did a very good job at threading the needle here. Right.
Yeah.
Okay. Any comments overall on the audio visuals?
Yeah, so this is where it gets a little bit rockier.
Ooh, okay.
So I'll start with the good, right? The music is fantastic. It is
Yes.
impeccable. It
Kawai
is
Kenji.
really, it's just like it's like so good at setting the tone and the ambiance that it's like you almost forget the music is there, but it's like it's very very good for setting the tone for any given scene. As for the visuals, so Hikari no O, if you couldn't tell from the poster, has a pretty muted color palette, right?
When I looked at it, it kind of gave me almost like it kind of scared me for a second because it was like the line art reminded me of Aknohana a little bit, and I was
Right.
like kind of scared.
Yeah. It does have this sort of not like almost scribbly, I guess would be a way to describe it. Like the lines aren't like cleanly connected,
Mhm.
and it's got this sort of filter on it, and the colors are very flat, I guess. But
Yes.
but in terms of the art style and the color palette, I think it goes well with the general mood and the tone of of this series' like world,
Mhm.
and the general like atmosphere of the characters. So I think that's fine. The issue really is when it's in motion. So when characters are sort of talking to each other, just like a back and forth dialogue, it's fine, right? The faces are perfectly detailed, right? The eyes pop pretty nicely, I think, with the art style when they need to. But whenever you go beyond that, like whenever a character needs to, say, run or an action sequence is happening, it gets bad, like really bad. Like it's like genuinely like gravity is no longer a factor in the universe. Bad, like it's grim.
That's unfortunate.
And it's pretty unfortunate. Luckily, there are not very many action sequences. You know, they're common enough for you to be like, you kind of grimace when it happens. But it's not gonna ruin the show, in my opinion. But it is definitely a very big red mark on the series. And there's also
It kind of feels like maybe, obviously the talents in there are probably good enough. It's just that Nishimura and co didn't really get enough money for the project overall.
maybe
Which
I'm
is
not too sure.
unfortunate.
Maybe the storyboarding was fucked up. I really don't know. But
Yeah.
there's also this weird thing that they do where I don't know if you guys have seen the 1998 Berserk anime, but that show
Is that the one with the cool
is
skeletons?
yeah, that
Hell
show
yeah.
is I guess infamous for the way it uses its like oil paintings as effectively a replacement for animation, right? Like a battle will be happening, and instead of showing the battle happening, it shows like just a still painting of a battle happening, and then just like combat noises in the background.
Right.
This show kind of does something similar, but not for action. It kind of just does it at random, where it'll sort of it sort of just transitions to these like really very nice looking, almost like watercolory paintings, but not really when the scene calls for any sort of emphasis. It's really weird. It's almost like they had these and were just like, yeah, we should use that in the show. Some of it feels very random. Like some of it is very appropriate. Like some character reveals or some more somber moments. But then some of it's kind of just like, yeah, here's an oil painting. It's like, huh?
Surprise.
It's a bit weird. It's not like, bad. Again, like the paintings are gorgeous. They're beautiful. But like it's just a weird stylistic decision that kind of comes up seemingly at random. Like there's no real rhyme or reason. But yeah, in terms of visuals, I think the series does take a hit. When it's like, again, when it's the more calmer moments, I do think it's very pretty, right? Like the line work is good. The faces are very detailed. Some of the character acting moments, like some of the like facial and like animations are very good. But when it gets a bit busier, when it gets a bit quicker paced, it sort of falls apart. But again, I think for a very dialogue heavy, sort of lore heavy, exposition-y series, I do think it's serviceable, right? Like it's
they managed to leverage
unfortunate.
that lore focus and kind of sitting down and just talking focus a little bit
Yeah.
better to offset.
Yeah, it's unfortunate that the action scenes are just bad, but a lot of these more important like emotional scenes are very well done in my opinion.
Okay.
And then last thing I guess I want to talk about is voice cast, which is very good in my opinion. Toko is done by Misaki Kuno.
Does she do like a more childish voice
Yeah,
in
she
this one?
does. She does her typical
Like kindergarten childish
yeah,
voice kind of thing.
yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, Misaki Kuno, famous for I guess Ichihara Nina from Idolmaster.
Yeah.
More
She did Hoshimiya
recently,
Kate and Zvezda, I think.
yeah, she was Vesda. She more recently did Aharen in Aharen-san,
And
Kurumi
Kurumi
in
and
Licorice
Licorice, yes.
Recoil, and Fapata in Maiden Abyss.
Yes, she is the quote unquote professional kindergartner of Seiyu.
Yeah, she's very good in this. She does the emotional bits really well.
Yeah.
And then Koichi, voiced by Shoya Ishige, who's not really a newcomer, but more of a lesser known. He did the main character of Yu-Gi-Oh! Vrains, along with the main character of Sonobisk Doll, I believe.
Yes, sir.
But yeah. As for that, some of the more supporting characters, you have Kira, who's Hayami Saori. She's doing her more, I guess, breathy voice in this, and it's very good. I like it a lot.
Even more breathy than her
yeah.
usual.
Akira, who's one of the fire hunters, as Sakamoto Maya. You know, very good, very good, very good. They're all quite good in this.
Yeah.
A lot of the supporting characters are very good. Yeah, just overall a very good series in my opinion. If you can get over the slight hurdle of some of the animation being a bit shoddy, I think you're in for a real treat. I do think this is genuinely like hidden gem of the season. I don't like using that term too often.
Right.
But you know, like I do like I see very little people talk about this show. What little I have seen is mostly just people kind of turning their nose up at the art style or whatever, which I think is a big, like, you know, obviously I get that some visuals aren't for everybody, but like this show's good. Like this show's really good. So I do implore everyone to sort of give it a shot. It's definitely like for me right now, like probably contender of anime of the year, depending on how it
nice.
pans out. So yeah,
It is unfortunate that it did take a hit, but it's like I think all of the other I think it's probably there's a higher probability that it's due to lack of project contract money given
yeah,
to Signal MD and the various talents, or how it was allocated maybe along the different talents. Because again, those are a lot of big names that probably want a little bit more of their pie, right? A little bit more of
yeah,
their slice of cake. And unfortunately, maybe they didn't have enough money for all the animation stuff, but it does seem like, as you said, the rest of it did turn out quite well is under
yeah,
Nishimura Junji's direction. So
yeah. I highly recommend. So
yeah. All right, what would you rate it? I think that was the thing that Toast is going to ask probably.
I'd probably give it an 8.5.
Okay, good. All right, then. Well, again, thank you, Nier, very much for helping to cover Hikari no O. Obviously, I think we did point it out during our previews to say this could be one of the better series of the season, or at least something to look out for. So we did point
Yeah,
it out, just pointing out, obviously, especially led by Nier, who did point out all like the different talents that were involved in it. So I think this is definitely it has proven itself to be worth all the talent names on its list on its roster.
yeah,
So please do check it out. It is an anime. No, it is a novel original. It is a
yeah,
novel original adapted into anime by Signal MD. Again, uh, one of the smaller studios under the overall production IG publishing and animation umbrella company. Uh, Directed by Nishimura Junji, as well as a bunch of former PA Works fame, as well as a bunch of other huge talents, Mamoru Oshii, and then Kenji Kawai, right?
yep,
Kenji Kawai. So please do check it out when you have the time. You don't usually see these sorts of names in a series altogether. So, anyways, thank you very much again, Nier, and we are finally off to the news. Just gonna kind of go through it quick. A lot of this is kind of just company news. So, first off, in the last couple of weeks, Netflix have launched their new password sharing policy. They said that all devices using a single Netflix account must be associated with one singular primary location that the company will verify through mandatory logins to the same Wi-Fi location every 31 days. They're trying to do this like stupid, password regulation thing because they want all the monies. And at first there was like a backlash, so they only did it. They like took it back and they limited it to Chile, Costa Rica, and Peru. And then later on, they extended it to Canada, New Zealand, Spain, and Portugal. So they're like trying to tiptoe around and slowly grasp their grimy hands on like everybody. But we'll see how it goes. Second, just going through some manga stuff. Chainsaw Man. This is a pretty funny one. So there's like a general list called the NPD Bookscan's top 20 adult graphic novels list. So there's like they do like a month. They collect weekly point of sale data on print books from over 16,000 locations, including e-tailers, chains, mass merchandisers, independent bookstores, and more. So yeah, this is print books from various platforms, not just like digital like viewing. So NPD Bookscan covers approximately 85% of the US trade print book market. The ranks on this chart are based on piece sales. So they're essentially like taking numbers on all like the most of the print books in circulation. And apparently, Chainsaw Man not only ranked number 1 for the top 20 adult graphics novels list for January, but the the Chainsaw Man manga, like different volumes and stuff, took 11 out of the 20 spots on the monthly book scan January list. And along with the fact that manga volumes took all 20 spots on the month's list for the first time since July 2022. So yeah, that's it was Chainsaw Man pretty much down the line, and then there was like Kaiju number 8, Spy Family, Jujutsu Kaisen, some other like Demon Slayer, Kimetsu no Yaiba, One Piece, stuff like that. But other than that, 11 freaking spots taken by Chainsaw Man. It is a craze that is sweeping the anime community.
Yeah, man, Chainsaw Man flopped though.
Never heard of this.
Bro, Pochi the
Chainsaw
Rock
Man.
is definitely gonna sell more. Have you not
sure,
seen the
for
BD
sure.
sales?
For sure. BD sales definitely matter.
Yeah, BD sales are completely not controlled by random branding and omake. Anyways, and the next one is the American Library Association's Graphic Novels and Comics Roundtable, or GNCRT, announced on Friday its 2022 Best Graphic Novels for Adults reading list. And the top 10 list includes Freeren, Beyond Journey's End, or Sousou no Freeren, which has been sort of a cult niche hit for the last, for pretty recently. And it also includes, Junji Ito's Black Paradox manga, Talk to My Back by Murasaki Yamada, and Witches, the Complete Collection by Igarashi Daisuke under its fiction category. Soul Mataki's Sleeping While Standing made the full list under the non-fiction category. But yeah, Freeren, right, currently it's on a hiatus, but it is quite popular, so please check it out when you have the time. Comic-Key announced on Wednesday that it has launched a Brazilian Portuguese website under a new subdomain, and then just releasing a bunch of different webtoons, a lot of them by Korean webtoons. So I think the obviously the next big market, right, other than maybe releasing it to Southeast Asia, will be probably Brazil, probably South America, Central America stuff, and expanding that market. So we'll probably see a lot of development. We'll see a lot of like fighting and digitalization and globalization on that front too. So last but couple of pieces of news on the award front here. First off, musician and composer Takumi Masanori won a Grammy for Best Global Music Album for his Sakura album at the 65th Grammy Awards ceremony. So Takumi has composed music for such anime as Koikaze, Genshiken, Kujibiki Unbalanced, Peach Girl, Suzuka Witchblade, and Claymore. So please do congratulate him on that. And the Tokyo Anime Award Festival, or TAAF, announced the winners of its Animation of the Year awards for works and individuals on Thursday. Spy Family won the television category, and One Piece Film Red won the animated film category.
Never heard of that
the-
movie.
Yeah. The winners of the individual awards are as follows. Award for original work / screenplay went to Yoshida Reiko, who did Heike Monogatari, and Liz and the Blue Bird, which was like the spin-off of Hibike Euphonium, right? I believe.
Yeah. Yep.
So obviously well deserved. Director category goes to Taniguchi Goro for One Piece Film Red and Code Geass movie. The animator category goes to Kameda Yoshimichi for his work on Mob Psycho 100. Background coloring / visual category goes to Eto Koji for The Garden of Sinners. And the performance / sound category goes to Ado for her work in One Piece Film Red.
Again, never heard of her.
Yeah, Mekamato won the festival's anime fan award with 183,000 fan votes. The judges chose from titles that debuted in whole or in part between October 1st, 2021 and September 30th, 2022. So yeah, I mean, not very many surprises here. All of these are pretty much like you look at them and you're like, yeah, they probably deserve the award. So anyways, congratulations to all of them. And so yeah, that was pretty quick rundown of the news. Again, not too much there to talk about. And we are finally on to our shoutouts and callouts. Everybody here gets one shout out and one call out each. A shout out is something that you want to praise, get 5 out of 5. Shout to the heavens about, and it can be any one person, place, or thing. Call out is something that you want to rant, stomp upon, rage about, and again, it can be any one person, place, or thing. And we start with Nier. Shout out, call, please.
I'm probably gonna call out the big cloud of cancer that's currently in the sky.
Yeah. That should probably be a thing. Yeah.
Yeah, I think I'm gonna call that out. I think that's not cool. That's not so cool.
Bad chemicals in the sky.
Oh, you're not talking about that one game. You're actually talking about the actual.
Yeah.
Wait. Wasn't there like 2 or 3?
What
other
game?
spills?
What are you talking about?
Don't worry about it.
All right.
Bro, I'm like in the same state too, which is like
Yeah,
I'm
well,
closing
yes,
my
I
windows
mean-
with that shit.
Yes, Fire. Why'd you do it?
Yeah, why'd I do it?
Yeah, I will. Well,
why
I
don't you
really
just, like,
appreciate
put
that.
that
Like
in
all the weather
space?
forecasts show that like that's blowing directly north, which is
Nice.
literally
In your pathway. Yeah.
right towards me. So that's really cool. That's
Nice.
really awesome.
Dude, it's gonna stop at the border. Don't worry.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Can't cross.
I would call out another dumb, stupid bullshit like thing that's happening in world politics, but
Go ahead.
I don't want to get into it.
Hmm.
Shoutouts, I guess, to fuck, man. I mean, shit's looking bleak recently. I'm gonna be honest.
It's like,
shoutouts-
fuck it.
Yeah, shoutouts, I guess, to Apex Legends new season. They recently added TDM. It's really fun. The only issue is there's no leave penalty, like there's no abandon penalty. So as soon as you start losing, people just leave the match.
What? Okay.
Yeah, and then it kind of just gets ruined from there. But yeah, otherwise it's fun when people don't leave.
Okay.
But yeah.
Pretty good. Thank you for your shout out call out. Toast, you're next.
My call out. My call out. How dare they do that to Pikami?
Yeah.
I don't care about the rest. Well, I do, but more stuff about Pikami because she's been on break this entire time, and she was supposed to come back, but now she's not. Look what you guys did. How dare you do that to Pikami? That's my call out. Yeah.
You shout out?
My shout out, I'm gonna shout out Manaka Iwami.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Pretty good.
Yeah. Because that's the main voice actor for that's Mahiro Shina's voice actor from The Angel
Mhm.
Next Door, who also
Mhm.
voices Euphilia in I don't know the Japanese title. The really cool isekai that Dark stole.
the camping.
No, really, that's not the cool one. The really cool one.
Which one was that? Oh, the Tensei Ojo, I think.
Yeah, that one.
Yes. Okay.
She's also F Field's voice actor in Black Summer. I like her voice. It's all right. She's been
Pretty
pretty
decent.
prevalent in cool stuff recently. She was also in Recreators. She's in Demon Slayer. I don't know what that is.
Mhm.
Mumusame. That shaving Osan one. Yeah, she's in all those. So shout out to her. I hope her
She's been getting a lot of good roles recently.
and her voice is pretty cool. It's slightly deeper than most other like typical main character voice actors. So
Mhm.
she stands out in the crowd. That's my shout out. I hope she does well
All right. Pretty
going
good.
forward.
All right. Thank you very much, Toast. What about you, Dark? Shout out, call out.
I'll just shout out gaming in general. A lot of stuff going on. Pretty good.
Games. Yeah.
Wait, that's your
Yeah,
shout out?
pretty
All
good
right.
game stuff. You know. A lot of cool stuff. A lot of cool games coming out. A lot of cool updates. And then yeah, I think my call out's gonna be. You know what? I'm gonna call out a little bit more of an elaborate thing, because there's an awesome new situation with Activision Blizzard where they just like cut bonuses by like 48% or whatever. Is that like 48% or
What?
42%? Yeah, like 42% of your bonus is gone during like record profits and like Dragonflight selling incredibly and stuff like that and stabilizing WoW finally.
I mean,
Nice.
they
And
did
then
just
on
pull out of
top
a
of
major
that,
market recently.
though, yeah, but that doesn't even like that doesn't has nothing to do with bonuses now. Like that's completely irrelevant because like the current showing is what you get bonuses on, not like futures. Also, allegedly China was only 3% of Activision Blizzard's market, but you know,
I doubt
definitely
that.
I
bullshit
don't believe
for
that.
World of Warcraft rather.
I highly
So
doubt
it's just
that.
I
like,
don't
you
believe
know,
that.
yeah, which is
Doubt.
definitely not
Yeah.
true. But yeah, so then they had a like a Zoom call, which apparently the text, the like, you know, the staff of Blizzard, it was Mike Ybarra, the head of Blizzard, doing a pre-screened Q&A. And the chat was in emote only mode. So imagine that. Imagine hosting for your own company like a pre-screened Q&A or anything really, and chats in fucking emote only mode. Like what? Like damn, dude.
Yeah, like
Um,
you already know that shit's bad. Why even do the Q&A?
Yeah. So then Mike Ybarra proceeded to also have a failure of a pre-screened Q&A. Because executives are really good at their jobs and deserve their pay. And proceeded to say that imply that executives are impacted just as much as the employees are, like the rank and file, with these bonus cuts. Because it was a flat bonus cut. Like everyone in the company is getting their bonuses cut by 42%. Only problem is when your bonus is like, you know, 6 or 7 figures and that's getting slashed in half. A little bit different than when you're making like 45 grand with like a 10 or 20K bonus and that gets cut in
Yeah.
half. Like little bit different. Because one, you still have enough money. The other one doesn't now.
Yeah.
And so like he proceeded to do that, and then he made like even more comments that were like just worse and worse and like dumber and dumber. And it's just like what the fuck are you doing, man? Like, how do you fuck this up that bad? But mostly my call out is more or less to people who are like shocked that this would happen. Because there are people that are like
Oh, people
surprised.
are
Like
like,
they literally can't wrap their heads around. They're like, but wait, but they made record profits. And I'm like, yeah, exactly. But then they also like laid people off and stuff. And then like, oh, that was the other thing. They're also forcing people to go they're mandating 3 days a week in office, even though they hired people for full-time
remote.
during like full-time remote. And also people who were transitioned to full-time remote, like sold their cars and shit because it's like that was the only reason why they had a car in California
Right.
was
Right.
to go to that office. And it's just like, dude, like, no. But other people, again, people are like, why wouldn't you, like, aren't you just focused on output? Like, why are you so hell-bent on, like, having people in the office? And I was like, 2 reasons. 1, to justify the bill to a landlord to rent this shit. 2, because
Yeah.
they want to own your fucking life. Like, obviously. Like, they're not just paying you for your output. They're paying you to fucking own you.
Yeah.
And
Pretty much.
3, like, this is how it's intended to work. Like, again, not to get like too socialist, but like, why would a company that is the CEO is Bobby Kotick, who literally like has said that he is just a pure capitalist. Like, he just loves capitalism. He does not fucking play games. He doesn't care about games. Why would he not squeeze? Like, of course now it's time to hit people with the bonus cuts. You're making record profits. How do you make that grow even more? By not giving people money, by not paying
Yeah.
people. Like, you make those profits even bigger.
Gotta increase the profit margins, yeah.
Yeah, so it's just like, I'm just like super frustrated that there are people who are like, but I don't get it. Like, it's better for like long-term value. And it's like, yeah, but that is not how a stock market works. They don't give a fuck. Like, these executives don't fucking care about long-term value because it doesn't matter. Especially like someone like Bobby Kotick, who has like a $300 million golden parachute. I was talking to Nir about this, and this will be like sort of like the wrap up, but it's like he basically has the same motive as a rank and file employee. It's to do the least amount of work for the most money possible. And when you have a golden parachute of like hundreds of millions of dollars, why would you literally do like anything? Like, why would you, like, you just like fire from the fucking hip, and if you make money, you make money. And if you fuck up, who cares? You get $300 million. Like, who gives a shit? And eventually they might find out and then fire you, and then you get $300 million. Who cares?
Yeah.
And also, you know, I think there's something to be said about the idea of how many people do you know, even if they're wealthy or not, that actually do work a lot and like buy a boat while they're working. So like when a CEO
need the boat to work, you mean?
well, I mean, so far as in so much as like before they like retire, they like own a boat.
Okay. Yeah.
Not many people. I wonder why that is. But then these CEOs seem to have a lot of yachts and a lot of like luxury and leisure stuff. Really weird how they like have all those things, but also somehow like work really hard and like are working constantly. I don't understand. Like, why would they buy all that then? Almost like they're not. It's almost like they're not working.
Secretly
It's
working
weird.
10,000 times harder than anybody on those boats. But yeah.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, that's the other thing too. It's like, yeah, like Bobby Kotick's making $300 million with like a golden parachute. It's like, yeah, man, he's definitely working
300
way
million times harder
yeah.
than the average.
than a
300 million
fucking
times harder.
yeah, he's working like 300,000 times harder than a fucking QA employee that works like 60 hours a week. Like, definitely.
That's just how it works with these CEOs, man.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Yeah.
it's ultimately like it's working as intended. Like, don't act surprised. This is what is supposed to happen. Like, of course it is.
Yeah,
And I
really,
will say,
obviously.
closing
Yeah.
one last thing was also What was cool was Nintendo is, I think it's Nintendo, Capcom, like a lot of Japanese companies are bumping the pay of employees, like I think anywhere between like 10 to 30% across the board, which is
Okay.
good. Granted, they have low pay, but also I think that's just more
I
so
mean,
the fact that there are a lot more
It's probably
Japanese
more
industries.
from the fact that the yen is collapsing. But
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's also
It's like
like,
inflation,
they have like
anti-inflation pay.
a lot of these companies, like Nintendo has like record low sales, or not record low profits, but like their profits went down, and they're
Mhm.
doing this boost, and it's like, they stated that it was for long-term employee retention and like to develop long-term value, and it's like, it's not so much that like, oh yeah, see, like this works, or like this isn't like working as intended. It's more so that like I feel like Japan is a different kettle of fish because of like, the yen being disastrously low.
I mean,
But also
Japan,
like,
Japan is also very much a capitalist hellscape. Like,
Yeah.
yeah,
in
and
some
I
ways
feel
more
like
so
I
than
also
the
feel
United
like
States. But
I also feel like a lot of companies, like at least like publishers, like Japanese publishers, are probably seeing that ahead of the curve, or just like realize that like their company is not going to get away with like shoveling $300 million to like an executive, because it's just like not going to happen. So
Mhm.
you may as well like try and keep it alive for a bit longer.
Right.
But anyway, essentially, closing statement, it's working as intended.
All right. Well, thank you, Dark, for your shout out call out. And I guess wrapping it up for me here, shout out. I don't really have too much to shout out. I think, yeah, I don't really. Oh, yeah.
based fellow doomer.
Base fellow doomer. Yeah, there's not too much to shout out for me. I mean,
Are you
I
saying
had a
you don't
pretty.
like your fantastic spring weather?
I didn't even have very fantastic spring weather. It was
Especially
still
with that
pretty freaking
cloud
cold.
looming overhead?
Yeah, exactly with the cloud looming overhead. I guess I want to shout out. I went to this like one Mexican restaurant and had a really good mocaete dish, and that was really nice. For those of you who
Wow.
don't know, it's like mocaete is like a stone kind of bowl, or it's like a Mexican like mortar pestle kind of thing, or mortar.
Are you saying
Uh,
it's a Mexican bibimbap?
No, it's not. It's like moquete is an actual like kind of like bowl slash like mortar. It's a mortar, but it's like you can also use it as a general bowl because it's larger. And for this dish, they use the moquete and they heat it up and they put on a lot of kind of like different meats and like soup, like broth and stuff like that, and sauces, and it was really good. So I shout out to that, I guess. Call out is honestly, again, I said this before the Discord, no, sorry, before the podcast, but callouts to really. I read some translated series in a long time, for the first time in a long while, or scanlated series manga for the first time in a long while, and it's just like it's really honestly kind of disgusting how the translation quality has gone down. Just like anybody nowadays thinks that they can just be a translator and just put like random English words, and as long as like they have some sort of like mild relation to what like the kanji might be or like the word might be, they're like, yeah, this is a sentence, bro, like whatever. Like there was this one thing where uh somebody translated like, oh, you're such it's like you have such a fondness for like your big brother, right? You're so fond of your big brother or whatever, right? Or you always kind of like follow your big brother around, and they translate it as like you're the big brother now or something like that, and it's like what like what, can you like read the things that's on the screen, please? And I don't know, it's kind of depressing how despite all the globalization, despite all the increasing popularity, it's just like the quality has gone downhill instead. And I kind of wish that, I hope that in the future there's some movement to really kind of clamp down upon like a lot of these kind of dumber people. I don't know what else to say. Like these people who are kind of just trying to go out there and trying to get content and just do stuff. Big chat says, I've got 100 Anki cards, Deep Bell of the Will, and God on my side. Time to become translator. Yeah, it's like, what is it? That one fucking guy that Toast keeps posting, right? Who's
Oh yeah,
just
that
like,
guy. Yeah.
yeah, it's like no, I don't know Japanese at all, but I have a DeepL or like Google Translate or whatever it is, and I have my gut feeling. I'm like, that's not how any of this works.
Yeah.
That is not how any of this works.
Hey, so what? You should be a what? Like, what, a C1 or a C2 on the CEFR test to be a translator? What's the English proficiency test nowadays? I don't know.
Is it a TOEFL?
Is that it? I don't know.
First English as a second language, TOEFL is the official test, right? Because it's test of English as a foreign language.
Okay.
But yeah, just that was my call out. Freaking, I can't. It kind of depresses me that like anime and manga and light novels have become so popular, so prevalent, and it's just like nobody wants to do the work. Like 5 million people fucking reading anime, and we can't get two like people that speak Japanese properly and English properly to do this stuff. Like, come on, man.
Wait,
Anyways,
Aspire, what's your TOEFL score?
my TOEFL score. I don't think I ever had a. I don't think I've never actually taken TOEFL because I think TOEFL is like legit. If you've grown up in another country and then like you try to kind of come over as an immigrant or whatever, then that's one thing. But like I came over when I was a kindergartner essentially, so I never had to take
So
TOEFL
so you're
because
saying you're C2 at least? You've mastered the English language?
master the English language. Well, my ACT score was okay, so I guess so. Question mark. But yeah, that was my shout out call out. And with that, we are done with our second to last winter 2023 review episode for the season. We're gonna have one more after this, and obviously everybody knows the elephant in the room, the stuff, one or two of the series that we haven't covered. Yes, we are going to cover that. Don't worry, we are. Well, people know which ones we've been missing so far. But yeah, so we will cover that. Don't worry. Reverse says, Spire, if we use standardized tests as a measure of English, 70% of America. Yeah, exactly. Our literacy rate would be so bad if we used like actual English proficiency as the bar. Yeah, we have one more episode after this. Yes, we will cover all the stuff that we need to do cover. After that, we are going to go into previews. The standard rigmarole here. And yeah, so please do watch out for that. And if you do like what we do, we stream our live recording of the podcast every other Saturday, starting from 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time over at twitch.tv/4PlayerAnimecast, again with the numeral 4, where we cover the latest Japanese animation, latest and greatest in Japanese animation, anime, manga, light novels, web novels, visual novels, and so much more. So we have our live recordings of the podcast here. We have YouTube content over on our YouTube channel, 4PlayerAnimecast. Again, now we have, not only do we have the full VODs, we have the split up into each different series, so you can watch it on a per series basis if you need to, as well as different highlights, shorts, so different content on our YouTube and on our Twitch channel as well. So whichever one you want to watch, we have a bunch of new brand new content now. So please do check that out. Go on our social media for more updates and information on Facebook, 4PlayAnimecast, as well as on Twitter at 4PPAnimecast.com. So check us out here, check us out there, and as always, we'll see you next time.